Ready when you are.
Good evening and welcome to the August 7th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Southampton Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held live and also via video conferencing in accordance with the Town Board's enactment of Local Law Number 14 of 2022. Our next meeting and those following also will be held here in person at Town Hall and will continue to allow for remote participation. So please keep checking the town's website for updates and any new information. If you wish to view tonight's live meeting only and not participate, please do not join the Zoom meeting and instead go to the town's website for viewing access. With that, I'd ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you with us here tonight, in case of an emergency evacuation, please exit through the rear doors of this room to one of the staircases across the hall and continue downstairs and out through the main entrance. Do not attempt to use the elevators during an emergency evacuation. In case of a medical emergency, the automated external defibrillator and first aid kit are both located in the hallway on this floor opposite the elevator. Restrooms are located across the hall from this room. We'll begin this meeting with public hearings. We have applicants and members of the public here with us live and also standing by via Zoom webinar, which is being monitored by CTV. CTV will mute the speakers on Zoom until it's their time to give testimony before the board. Please be patient. If you find you're having difficulties accessing the hearing, visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Also, for those of you in the boardroom, please silence your cell phones and refrain from speaking to one another as it interferes with the recording of our proceedings. Tonight, board member Helen Burgess is participating via Zoom. A reminder, and also Rob Macedonio is absent. A reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking other than attorneys will be sworn in, will state their address for the record, and will offer their testimony as it relates to the application before the board. In order to consider properly every application before us tonight, individuals commenting on a particular application will have a time limit of 3 minutes. Also, before handing in any submissions to the board tonight, please make sure documents identify the ZBA application name and tax map number. Application name should also be written on your certified receipts. Unless otherwise stated at the end of an individual application hearing, all applications will remain open for written comments for all purposes until a set date. Those written comments can be addressed to members of the board and sent via email, mail, and or dropped off at Town Hall to the board secretary, Candace Cowell, in the building department. At this time, I'd like a motion to approve the minutes of our July 17th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. John, would you take us through the agenda, please?
Starting with number 9 on the agenda, application of Matthew and Yasemin Salas, 588 Hayground, Watermill, 588 Hayground Road, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-67-1-3.3. This application will be re-advertised for our September 4th meeting. Number 11 on the agenda, 2297 Montauk LLC, 2297 Montauk, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-86-1-3. This, I move to adjourn this, the hearing on this application to October 16th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number 12 on the agenda, the application of 625 Butter Lane Homestead LLC, Agricultural Reserve, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-51-1-17.7. I move to adjourn the hearing on this application to November 6th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number 13 on the agenda, the application of Gary and Barbara Siegler, 271 Dune Road, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-179-2-26.2. I move to adjourn the hearing on this application to October 2nd.
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redhand?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number 14 on the agenda, application of John T. Montecalvo et al., 1129, 1089, and 1169 Spionk Riverhead Road, Remsenburg, Spionk, Suffolk County Tax Map numbers 900-301-2-6, 7, and 8. I move to adjourn the hearing on this application to October 2nd.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Redmond.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number 16 on the agenda, application of Wilderness Trail JV LLC, landlocked property on North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-79-1-33. I move to adjourn the hearing on this application to September 18th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Yep.
Mr. Redmond.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Number 19 on the agenda, seek a resolution in the application of 2297 Montauk LLC, 2297 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-86-1-3. I move to adjourn the hearing on this application to October 16th.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Redmond.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye.
Turning to the decision calendar, the decision of South Dune Builders, 4 Cricket Path, Remsenburg, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-380-1-27. I move to adjourn the decision of this application to August 21st.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Redmond.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye.
Decision in the application of John and Meredith Noonan, 284 East Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-230-1-15. I move to adjourn the decision on this application to August 21st.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Redmond.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Finally, the decision of Dana R. Rubin and Robert J. Gottlieb, 60 Noyak Harbor Road, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-4-1-73. I move to adjourn the decision in this application to August 21st.
Second.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Redmond.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay, turning to
Back to number 1.
agenda item number 1, application of Eric and Marlo Bamberger, 59 Bayview Drive East, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-9-3-63.2. Applicant requests relief from Town Code Section 330-6, General Regulations that references Section 330-11, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory front lot line setback of 30.3 feet from the southerly property line, Bayview Drive, where 40 feet is required for a proposed pool with spa and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction. This is a minor application, so there is no public hearing. Normally, we close these and we do a decision later on for tonight, but we are waiting on referrals on this from the trustees, Suffolk County Planning Commission, and the Conservation Board. So I'd ask the board to, close the application, keep it open for written submissions until the next meeting.
Okay, so we should have written submissions as of
Yeah, you can use the same deadlines we used before.
8/22 with the decision on 9/4?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Say it again?
When decision 9/4, decision 8/21.
I thought you were saying written subs.
Okay, so no.
Oh, yeah.
I think because it was a minor, that's why I asked.
Yeah, no,
And the referrals were
Except
already
you're
done.
still waiting for referrals, so we should probably give ourselves some time.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay,
How we've been waiting for the referrals.
okay. Since Robert's not here, will somebody make that motion, please?
I move to close the public hearing on the Bamberger application, hold it open for written submissions to August 22nd with the decision September 4th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Number 2 on the agenda, application of Matthew Walsh, 150 Noyak Path, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-81-1-3.9. Applicant requests a determination that the subject parcel, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-81-1-3.9, is held in single and separate ownership from all adjacent parcels and thus entitled to relief pursuant to Section 330-115D.
The board has jurisdiction.
Number 3 on the agenda, application of Matthew Walsh, 126 Noyak Path, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-81-1-4.3. Applicant requests a determination that the subject parcel, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-81-1-4.3, is held in single and separate ownership from all adjacent parcels and thus entitled to relief pursuant to Section 330-115D.
Board has jurisdiction.
Number 4 on the agenda, application of Matthew Walsh, 120 Noyak Path, Walter Mill, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-81-1-4.4. Applicant requests a determination that the subject parcel, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-81-1-4.4, is held in single and separate ownership from all adjacent parcels and thus entitled to relief pursuant to Section 330-115D.
The board has jurisdiction.
Number 5 on the agenda, application of Matthew Walsh, 170 Noyak Path, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-81-1-4.5. Applicant requests a determination that the subject parcel, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-81-1-4.5, is held in single and separate ownership from all adjacent parcels and thus entitled to relief pursuant to Section 330-115D.
The board has jurisdiction.
You sure? Okay, sorry.
So we're going to open all of these together and take testimony at once.
Okay.
Carl Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York. For the applicants, good evening, everyone. So we are considering single and separate applications for 4 related lots. And what I've passed around is sort of a color-coded timeline so that you can see how these lots evolved over time and how they ended up in common ownership. I also passed around the 1984 and 1994 tax maps. And I do have all relevant tax bills here. I don't know if you want all these. I could just submit them for the record. But
It'd be nice to just at least know. Because that was one of my questions, was about the tax thing. So. You can testify to it, Carl. We'll trust your testimony.
Will we?
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Unless, John, you would like to take personal responsibility for reviewing
We'll take
them.
judicial notice.
Okay.
One of those nights.
Exactly. Started already.
Yeah. So,
okay, good evening. So we're talking about the history of these parcels as they were owned by Walter Kasich and David Walsh. And in 1975, on your first sheet, you'll see that they were the southern 2 parcels were 1 parcel owned by Walter Kasich, and the northern parcel was 1 parcel owned by Walter and David. You flip to 1977, without the benefit of planning board intervention, just by deed, which could be done back then, the northern parcel was subdivided into 3 lots, all conforming to zoning at the time. All at that time in David and Walter's name, while the southern lot remained just in Walter's name. You turn in 1978, that's the next one. You'll see that the yellow parcel, that's the northernmost, was actually sold to a third party. The 2 remained, northern parcels remaining were both in Walter's name and David's name, and the southern remained in Walter's name. So now, the 2 green parcels are conforming lots, and the southern parcel is not in common ownership.
and the yellow conforming?
The yellow was conforming, but that was sold off.
I know.
Yeah. So this was under the 384 zoning,
Right.
which was R40. In March of 1984, still conforming just a few weeks before the upzone, you'll see that the lots, Walter at this point had transferred ownership, cognizant of this upzoning, looking to get out of common ownership. It went from David and Walter in the green to Walter in the orange, and then the southern lot has always remained in Walter's name. In April 4th of 1984, that's when that upzoning happened. Again, at this point, the northern lots are non-conforming, but they're all in separate ownership, single and separate ownership. Turning to the next page, in 1988, the southern lots, by virtue of a variance granted by the zoning board for lot size for that 120 lot, was subdivided. And that created, so now we have the 4 lots we're dealing with today. The 2 northern lots, the one in green and the one in orange, and the 2 southern lots, by virtue of that subdivision, both in Walter's names. So now you have, by virtue of a variance, 2 non-conforming lots, or actually 1 non-conforming lot. 126 is conforming. 120 is not conforming in common ownership, however, by virtue of a variance for lot size. Going to 1994, the northern lot that had been Walter's is now given to David. So David and Walter own the green, David owns the blue, and Walter still owns both in red. So despite the 88 variance and subdivision approval, which was filed in 1991, the names were never taken out of common ownership to the south. So you have a non-conforming, unimproved lot that is lot number 120, which is this lot, in common ownership with the one south. In 2013, Walter passes away. And at that point, by virtue of Walter's estate, all go to David. And it is from that point forward that these lots were in common ownership. Now, the 1984 tax map, which you have, shows something, it reflects what I've just told you. The lots we're looking at are actually right up here. So it's this parcel here, and these right here. Are the northern lots.
Tilt this way. I'm sorry.
So if you look at the
Got it.
1984.
Okay, got it.
If you look at that, the lot that's sort of L-shaped to the north is a bunch of different small parcels,
Yep.
which was a result of the fact that they didn't have town involvement in the subdivision. They just did it by deed, so it was a little bit sloppy. But it reflects that those are distinct parcels from the south and distinct from each other. When they did the subdivision that we mentioned with the zoning board's involvement in 1989, the county at that point worked with the town, the Real Property Services, and the assessors to clean up that jumbled mess of small lots. And if you see in the 1994 Suffolk County tax map, those lots now reflect what it looks like today. They are all independent tax parcels. Candace has those. You have them already. So these packets, there's 4 different lots spanning 50 years. But you can see that since they became all in common ownership, that was in 2013, we have independent tax map numbers and tax bills for each lot. Going back to 150. I'm sorry, 126 and 120, which became, by virtue of a variance, again, approved in 88, filed in 91, we have tax maps going back virtually to that same period, showing that they have all had independent tax numbers since that time. It's clear throughout the history of these parcels, all of which are completely vacant and unimproved except for 126.
Right.
None of them have been used in reality in conjunction with each other. All of them have had separate tax map numbers. They've been reflected independent on the tax maps. And the actions of the owners throughout time have demonstrated an intent to keep these separate by virtue of variances, by virtue of changing ownership when appropriate. David has since died in 2024. The executor is now handling these. And it came up that despite their dexterity with respect to ownership and trying to keep these separate all along, as they got older in age and with Walter's death, that sort of their attention to detail with respect to keeping them separate went by the wayside. Through no fault, of probably just the lack of appreciating Walter's death.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what did they do?
What were the actions that caused you to say that?
Over time,
No, then they
recently.
got older and they were less attentive to detail.
that's all I'm saying. So
Well,
when
but they had tax bills, were they paid separately?
they were all paid separately, yes.
Okay.
But as far as keeping the names distinct as they had been doing all along, getting variances they had done in the 90s, that didn't happen.
Okay.
And now they're both passed away, and the executor is sort of working on officially having these declared single and separate. And that's why I'm here today.
And any mortgage information that we ought to know about?
No mortgage.
I actually went to look at the properties, and you're absolutely right, completely undeveloped,
Yeah.
except for a driveway, like a dirt
Like a
driveway that
driveway,
goes up
yes.
to,
To the one improved lot.
right,
Yes.
one improved lot, yes. Okay,
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's.
So I only have like sort of just one curiosity. How is it that it took 12 years to figure out that the lots have merged? I mean, how long has the estate been? I'm just
Well,
a little puzzled by that.
Walters, when
Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody died in 2024.
someone died in 2013, then 2024,
Okay,
and
thank
now
you,
the
thank you,
estate's.
thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
So
thank you.
this just came
Understood.
to.
Okay.
Julie, do you have any
I
particular
mean, no,
questions?
I think you've taken us through the elements of.
Carl, I have to say, I appreciate very much this, because
'cause
it
it was-
really was, I was trying to track it, and it was very difficult.
Could have been much worse. So thank you.
It really, so we
I
usually
did this for
use.
myself too.
Yeah, well, you did a good job.
It's helpful.
No mortgage, separate tax bills, no cross uses. To me, it looks pretty cut and dry in terms of separate and, single and separate. Anybody else have a question? Is there anyone in the audience?
Well presented.
Anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on these 4 applications for 150 Noyak Path et al.? Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to be heard?
No one on Zoom.
Julie, this is yours.
Okay, so it sounds like we're going to close this. I move to close the public hearing, keep it open until August 22 for written submissions with a decision on September 4.
Second.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Redpath?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carl. Number 6 on the agenda, OAF New Horizon Homes Incorporated, 10 Sagamore Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-230-1-19. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for proposed pool. 1, Section 330-30, General Regulations, that references 330-34 Business Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory front lot line setback from 60 feet to 20 feet, and an accessory rear yard setback from 50 feet to 43 feet. And 2, Section 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and Section 330-83C yards, to allow the pool to be located within the required front and side yards for the principal building on a non-conforming lot, and any other relief necessary.
Has jurisdiction.
Are you an attorney?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name and address.
Alan Fajardo, address 391 Mayflower Avenue, Brentwood, New York, 11717.
Did you say Alan?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, tell us about this application, Alan.
So yes, ma'am, I purchased a property, last year. I've been working on the property and, doing some improvement to it. And, we want to have it paid for recreational.
Okay.
Due to the setback, this is, I believe it's, they require 50 feet setback. Since the cesspool actually not that way far back out, kind of pushing 2 feet.
Where is the septic field?
To look at the house from the right hand side.
Okay, Kevin, I know you want to talk about this?
Yeah. So help me clarify a few things. So you acquired the property roughly a year ago?
Yes, sir. About a year and a half ago.
And I visited the site and I could see that work is done on. And did the prior owner, or did you put the septic system in the present location?
Another prior owner, sir.
The prior,
Good enough, yes, the prior owner had it.
okay. And historically, I mean, I think I'm speaking for the board, and anybody who feels otherwise can let me know. Really don't like pools in the front yard. And it's a pretty small lot for a pool the size I think you're proposing, and it's in the front yard. And it presents a series of issues such as, general presentation in the neighborhood. The property immediately to the east has a pool. It's close to the property line. I think that's less the issue that I have. But your expectations for the size of the pool, you think that can fit there may be different than other people on the board, myself in particular, and others may feel the same way. And, I really had a hard time imagining why anybody would put a septic system in the backyard which would limit your opportunities for how you would use the back of the yard and not put it in the front. But if you didn't put it there, I understand that. Okay. But you did buy the property knowing that that's where it was.
Correct.
So, I mean, I think the pool's too big. I think the encroachment into the front is excessive, and I know the area. My kids used to hang out with somebody that was around there when they were in school, and I get it. It's a working class community, pretty modest sized lots, but most of the front of the houses, the front yards for most of this community is pretty even, and there's no real encroachments into the front like this pool would, and I'm concerned that would have a precedential impact that I don't think we would want to see continued. So if anybody has any other thoughts.
I went to the property. I thought the backyard was quite narrow, actually, and so I wasn't so sure you'd be able to put a pool back there anyhow. In my opinion, the pool is too big. It even comes further forward to the property line than the house. When you line it up, it really is such an open area right now. There's no vegetation, so it's like, whoa, that would be like right there. I have a real problem with the setback in the front, not in the side. The pool next door seems to be pushed back further. They probably don't have the same issues that you have in terms of septic or whatever, but it seems to be pushed back further. I drove around the property. I'm not as familiar as Kevin is with it. I didn't see, except for the house next door, another pool. And I agree with Kevin in terms of, the front yards of these other places. I would be really, in my opinion, the pool is way too big it's almost as big as the house. So that's a problem for me. And I would really like to see as far back as it could go. I don't know in terms of the septic fields how far back it could go, but smaller, back further, and clearly there would have to be a lot of, vegetation because it's just like right there.
So you have a hydro action in there right now, right?
Right.
With drain fields or leaching fields? What do you have?
Leaching.
I mean, I don't know how easy this is, and I don't say it lightly, but, if you shrunk the pool and asked the health department if you could move it back further, then, you might be able to get some pool there. But I think you subtle message, it's not subtle. The message you should be hearing is reduce your expectations for what you think you can fit there.
I understand that. I mean, we would have seen the property or what it looked before, so I think we would have a better idea.
It's a lovely piece of property. You
Yeah.
did a great job
What
with
it
the
looked
house.
before, what's
That's not a question.
what has been done on the property is way and beyond. So I mean, I can work with.
We're not being critical of any of the work you did. We're just talking about the pool.
Understand?
And sometimes small lots don't accommodate pools, or, particularly since you've got some issues with where the septic is and everything else. You did a lovely job. The house looks beautiful. The garage is nice. The backyard, what limited backyard you have is very nice. That's not the issue.
And I don't say this lightly either, because I don't know if you have a finished basement or an unfinished basement, but if the septic system was in the front and you could, and the waste line in the house was available and open and you could reroute it, and I don't say lightly, but that would free up a lot of room for you to move the pool back.
Yeah, so the
And
issue,
I know it doesn't fit in a different orientation, but it would give you a lot of front yard relief. And again, I don't say lightly because it's not a small undertaking.
so the issue is also with the setback with Board of Health sitting
I
in the
understand.
front. So
No.
that's why we come into what we probably are allowing ourselves to what we can actually build as far as the pool, based on the Board of Health giving us, I couldn't move it to the front. I had to keep it where it is, and I'm working with those actually working with the conditions that the Board of Health actually putting me on as well, as far as moving the septic tank or actually moving to the new septic tanks now. So the I8 system now. So that's what I'm actually building also on it.
What you're describing is the challenge on the property because it's only 10,000 square feet. So
But we, looking at the property on the side, so I mean, we gave them, you guys gave them, built their house and was right next to the adjacent property lot. So they actually closer to the property line. I'm actually putting a pool, not a house. They extended the house to the right hand side, close to the property line. And that's a house. It's built like another house.
The criticism is on the side, the criticism,
understand that.
the challenge is front to back,
Right.
right?
Give me a challenge on the pool,
So-
not they built another second floors to
I
the side.
understand. But we're talking about your property and your
We're not
proposal.
dealing
I'm
with their
basing
property.
myself on what we have next to it, so
I
and
understand.
that's the only property that I can bounce it back out.
And that's the only property that has a pool in the area.
Are you living in this property?
Yes, I'll be leaving the property. So.
Anybody else have a comment about, anybody else go to see it?
I didn't see it. I am concerned about the size of the pool.
The size and the location. Now,
Yeah.
again, not the side yard setback, that's not a problem, but it's the front yard.
Yeah, and we've consistently had an issue with putting pools in the front yard. It's unseemly. So,
It's a little moving forward to the front, it's on the side. When you guys in front, it's like, it's on the
it's
side.
the front.
It's encroaching to the front. I understand what you're saying.
It's encroaching
Back
into
and see
the
if you can
front.
make the pool a little smaller, set it back a little bit. You might be
I can
able
go
to
back
cut
to the
some
drawing
feet off,
table,
maybe
see
5
what we
feet
can
off the
do.
pool, maybe a little narrower, you won't even see it as much, and set it back a little bit.
Yeah,
You
it's,
probably
I,
can if you,
yeah, I think, you're hearing the
I gotta
comments.
see what the Board of Health
Right,
will
but you
allow
see,
me
you're
to
hearing
do.
what the comments are from
I
our
understand.
board.
Well, even again, it's not my expertise, but if one of the leaching fields, one of the leaching rings could be moved, they may give you a little relief there. It's something to talk about. But you understand, I understand your physics problem here, right? There's only so much space and you have to fit a couple of things. And the question is, one is already there, and that means the whole conversation is about the size of the pool until you can move anything. So
We can go back to the drawing table, see what we can do.
I think
we know this isn't the message you want to hear, but
I know,
With
but
that investment already have it, and so it's kind of,
let me just say that the
Take a
house
hit.
itself looks really great.
thank you.
So that's a real plus. I mean, it upgrades the neighborhood. But we can't, we really have a problem with the pool. Okay, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 10 Sagamore Road? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 10 Sagamore Road?
Susan,
Yes,
Susan?
go ahead, Ellen.
I'd like to concur with the board that I have a problem also with this pool. The size of the pool and the placement of the pool. And it's unfortunate that the septic was put in the back because that's where the pool should have gone. But I guess we're not going to ask him to move the septic. But he certainly should do something, about the size of the pool.
Yeah,
That-
let's see what you can come back with, and we will take a look at that.
That's good.
And
Okay.
how much time do you think you need?
For the drawings?
Well, I don't, we're gonna leave the hearing open and we wanna, we wanna,
We want to adjourn
like
this
to
to a
adjourn it to
subsequent
another
date.
time for you to come back, but if you need a little time, or what's the soonest you could be ready?
What's the next four?
August 21st.
So September then. What's the next?
September, we've got
We have
far too
September
many
4th,
cases on
and
the
we
calendar,
have,
so then it's October 2nd.
August 21st, and when would I need to have the drawings back to you?
well, I think you'd be tight for
Yeah.
August 21st.
October 2nd seems more reasonable.
October 2nd?
Or
August
Or-
21st, when is your deadline for me to turn it? Because I mean.
you
the
have to talk,
architect-
we have to
Yeah.
have it at least a week in advance of August
In advance.
21st, so that would be like next week.
Okay. So if I can,
All right, well,
the
you
plans
want,
is already drawn, so you just gotta,
all right, do you want to adjourn it, and if you can't meet that, we'll adjourn it for another day.
sounds good.
All right,
Perfect.
so let's adjourn this meeting until August 21st.
Thank you.
The
second,
motion.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Redpen?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, I appreciate
you.
it.
Okay.
7 on the agenda, the application of RJS Real Properties LLC, 93 East Montauk Highway, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-263-1-32.4. Pursuant to the New York State Town Law, Section 267A, and the Southampton Town Code, applicant appeals the March 6, 2025 determination by the Chief Building Inspector that the use of St. Rosalie's Roman Catholic Church constitutes a school ground pursuant to Town Code Section 330-16226.
The board has jurisdiction. Before you start your presentation, I don't know if Steve Kiley spoke to you today. I did call Steve Kiley. I just wanted to let the board know. I did call the applicant, one of the applicant's attorneys, Steve Kiley, because it had been brought to my attention about the change of zone, and I just kind of wanted to talk to him a little bit about it. So I just wanted to make sure he communicated to you that I know you want to make your presentation, and that's what Steve had said, but I did want to ask either Steve or you guys to maybe put together a written sub just on the board's jurisdiction in light of the change of zone in terms of like standing to challenge the interpretation. So I'm just putting that out there. I know you have your presentation for tonight, but that's something that I'm going to ask you or
Katie,
Steve.
clarify that for me, whether we have jurisdiction to hear this?
Yes, because,
But this is a.
and again,
building-
he will address
Okay,
it.
but this is a building inspector decision, which we
Correct.
normally, if it's being appealed, we
Yep.
hear that decision. Why would it be
Absolutely.
an issue?
Well, the question that had been, that I was having is, and again, I'm sorry to hijack your presentation.
Yeah, I think maybe we should
Wanna go first?
set the table a little bit.
Okay, let him go
I would
first.
just say in response that be happy to and would appreciate the opportunity to make a
I
written
mean, they're gonna make their presentation either way, but then after you're finished, or maybe I'll just ask him while he's going through it.
Okay, before you start, please state,
Sorry.
you're an attorney, correct?
Yes, I am.
Yes, please state your name and address.
Timothy Hill, Perillo Hill, 285 West Main Street, Sayville, New York, of counsel to Steve Kiley, who's counsel for the applicant.
All right. Mr. Hill, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. This is, as was recited in the notice, an appeal for which your jurisdiction exists under Town Law Section 267A from a 267A talks about both an appeal from an interpretation of the building inspector as well as an appeal from a determination of the building inspector. And this is an appeal in both of those regards, and I'll address them one at a time. But just to circle back to the procedural issue, if there's a request or an opportunity for a written submission, I would welcome that, and maybe I would tailor my comments and keep things tidy if there's going to be the opportunity for a written submission as well.
Oh, there definitely will be, because I do want it in the record.
So that the action of the building inspector in question is a letter, March 6, 2025, from the building inspector addressed to the chairperson of the town's planning board. Just by way of a little context to how we got to this point, this is an application for a non-medical cannabis dispensary. This is a field that is fully occupied by state law. And the applicant has done everything on the state level to get their certification and licensing in place to proceed. Their application to the planning board was for a special exception use to have permission to operate in the location that they desire. That application was made, and sometime before the public hearing on that, it got a little bit sidetracked or tabled in terms of a request that was made to the building inspector. I attempted to find if that was articulated at a meeting or the request by the planning board to the building inspector to know exactly what the assignment was, so to speak. But, I mean, we can glean it from the March 6th letter. Effectively, this was an application, and the question before the planning board was under the very specific requirements of the town code for exactly this type of facility, all of which is in section 330-162.26 of the town code. And even more specifically in subsection C of that provision, which provides a dimensional requirement in terms of a distance from a house of worship. And that was the request that was made to the building inspector to confirm the distance involved and whether or not it complied with the 200-foot restriction in subsection C. Again, this is really actually a field that's fully controlled by the state law. So whether any of these dimensional regulations are, something that the town can enforce is a separate question that may get addressed elsewhere. But just by context, even staying within the town's own rules, this was what was before the town board. So if we look at that March 6th letter from the building inspector, it refers to having been asked by the planning board to make a determination pertaining to the special exception application at the above address, and says the initial request cites section 330-162.26C. And again, that is the provision that provides that it must be 200 feet from a house of worship. Fully outside of the request, the determination pivots to say, actually, upon further reflection, and because I happen to speak to the pastor at the church, obviously this location that we're measuring from is St. Rosalie's Church, to determine if it was 200 feet from there. It pivoted away from that and said, building inspector said, well, actually, I think the better thing to do is to consider this a school and apply the standard for school, which is 500 feet. And I'll come back to that when I talk about the appeal from the determination. But in terms of the appeal from the interpretation that St. Rosalie's Church is a school and not a church is what we take issue with in the first part of this appeal. And so, as we always do in matters of statutory interpretation, we look at what the code itself says. So in section 330-5, the town code, school is a defined term. The school includes buildings. This is 330-5. Schools defined as buildings, structures, premises, or places together with the grounds thereof, which are used primarily for public or private educational facilities. So the key term there is primarily. So on a compound that might include a church, another structure, something used for other purposes, the question is, what is the primary or predominant use? And I don't think there's any question that St. Rosalie's Church, the parcel that property is dedicated to, if you had to ask what its primary use was, is as a church or a house of worship. In fact, we obtained a copy of the CO for the property, and it has a one-word entry that says church. There's no reference to a school building, anything of the like in the certificate of occupancy for this parcel. So as a matter of the town code's own definition, there's simply no basis to sustain the interpretation that St. Rosalie's Church is a school. You can also look at the section of the code that provides this dimensional relief or requirement, and again, pivoting away from what the actual question was, which was under subsection C for a house of worship, even under the definition in subsection A, where the distance is described in terms of its location to school grounds. It's a definition that is what in elementary school we used to get in trouble for using the word to define itself. But it defines school grounds as any building, structure, surrounding outdoor grounds, including entrances, exits contained within a public or private preschool, nursery school, elementary school, or secondary schools, legally defined property boundaries pursuant to section 409 subsection 2 of the New York State Education Law. So I'll get to that reference to the education law definition in a second. It's immensely disappointing in terms of what it provides. But this definition in the town code itself of these school grounds is talking about a legally defined property boundary. If we're talking about St. Rosalie's Church, St. Rosalie's Church, as the CO reflects, is the owner and occupant of that parcel. There may be other buildings and structures on it, but the legally defined property boundaries have to be in reference to the owner of that parcel. So everything that precedes the description in that definition assumes that that's the legal boundary of a school. But there is no school. There is no school that is the primary occupant of this address. So under the basic definition of school in the town code, as well as the specific definition of school grounds in the applicable section of the town code, there's really just not a tenable defense for the definition that the building inspector came up with.
Wait, can you just back up for a second though? Because the building inspector's letter does talk about a building in the rear portion. So you said there may or may not be a building. I mean, there is a building in the rear, right?
It's referred to as parish hall.
So is it your position that doesn't count as like the grounds?
Yes, because the school building, a building doesn't have a legal boundary. Parcels have legal boundaries.
Right.
So whether there's a school, and we don't really agree necessarily that there is even a dedicated school building on the grounds. Whether there's a building that's used as a school, among the things that are on the church's lot, there has to be something that is part of or within the school '(S) legally defined property boundary. So the school has to be the thing that owns the property. It has to be possessed, there has to be ownership by a school of the bounds to make any building on it subject to this requirement.
So let me
What
get this
case law
straight.
do you have that shows that interpretation? I mean, you're reading a statute and telling us it has to mean what you are saying it means, but that's not necessarily true. As we all know, statutes are subject to statutory interpretation by the courts of law, and the question becomes, have you looked to see what case law there is in the state of New York which has interpreted this very thing? And another thing that I'll mention is that your use of the school definition in the town code leaves out the fact that it says that the buildings, it includes buildings which are primarily for public or private educational facilities as recognized and defined by the New York State Department of Education. So I think that you need to do a much deeper dive. I mean, I have to say, look, this case was assigned to me, and I'm very disappointed by this application. It was a one-page application, a letter that simply said, we're appealing the building department's determination that this is school grounds. And that's all we got. We got nothing, no briefing. This is a huge case. This is not something that you just, one little letter. I mean, honestly, the letter that we received was paltry in comparison to what actually needs to be done. The number of questions there are, it presented more questions than it answered. So to speak about my first question is, what is the definition of a school?
Well, the definition of a school, fortunately, is something that the town code provides, and which I
Right,
read.
but it
if I
also
could
goes
address
further
your
into
comments, because I didn't expect this to be adversarial, right? I mean, we're making this appeal to you. I understand you have a critique of the thickness.
It's not adversarial. It's simply that your application does not have any of the information one would expect to see from an application of this kind. That's not adversarial. That's a fact.
Well, you asked me a question that I
Yes.
haven't had an opportunity to answer yet, and respectfully, your question interrupted my presentation, which is hopefully supplementing the,
Why don't you answer the question then and not critique what I'm asking you?
I'm not critiquing, I'm just
Go
trying
ahead.
to.
Just answer the question.
So the question that you started with was, is there case law that supports this definition? There's not case law because what we're interpreting is the town code provision on this dispensary, which is a very recent vintage. So this nobody's taken a case. There's not been any litigation over Southampton Town Code's cannabis statute. So there would only be case law if there was a lawsuit that was asked to interpret it.
You have to think much further out of the box. There may be case law with regard to how one defines a school in a municipality.
But also remember, the board sits in the place of the chief building inspector, right? So everything in front of us and everything that they're telling us is for you to decide whether or not the church is acting as a school or however you want to phrase it. But you are sitting in the position of the chief building inspector. So we can ask for case law, but it's also, we do have to look at what the town code says as guidance for the interpretation.
Oh, certainly, but I think also, look, the fact of the matter is that these town code provisions are also intertwined with education law, with administrative agencies like the Office of Cannabis Management, the Department of Education. We can't just say, oh, we only are going to look at the town code and that's it. There's so many other factors here.
But if I could, John, Mr. Hill, I do want to give you an opportunity to finish your presentation. You're making great points. Let's hold and see what he finishes up with, okay?
Thank you. So with respect to legal authority for this position, statutory interpretation or statutory construction of whether it's of a statute or language in a contract, the first question is the language itself ambiguous? Does it require interpretation? So unambiguous language in a contract or a statute doesn't get treatment by the court interpreting it if what its plain language says means what it means. And I can give you, a million cases that would support that, what are called the canons of statutory instruction. And I would submit that the definition of a school in the town code, which talks about it being used primarily for public or private educational facilities, is unambiguous. We know what primarily means, and in the context of this parcel.
So you drive into the parking lot at the church, and you hang a right toward what is referred to as Parish Hall, and there's a big blue sign that says OLH nursery school or pre-K or whatever it says. So it's like, okay, that's pretty clear. And my oldest son is 34 years old, and I took both my kids after they went to public school to religious education after elementary school. So that's been going on for 25 years. Ask anybody locally knows that, right? So whatever is referred to as the primary use of the parish hall facility that has classrooms in it is something that, to John's point, would have been nice to have some briefing on how are these interpretations made, what are the classifications of these uses, and are they consistent or inconsistent with the definitions you're reminding us of? And I'm not looking to be adversarial, but these are important issues that we have to resolve. And common knowledge and what we know from our own experiences, affect how we're processing your information. So I think we need a little bit more, whether it's here or the hearing open and then your briefs on this, I think have a lot of questions that have to still be answered.
And if I may, I'm sorry, but I think that your definition, you are reading only to a certain point and then stopping. There is a comma and there is more to the statement, to the definition of a school. And you are leaving out, as recognized and defined by the New York State Department of Education, the definition of school grounds in the town code lifts the exact same language from Education Law 409 sub 2.
So
So you cannot say that there's not going to be any case law, there's not going to be any legal precedent, and that we are limited to looking at the town code. And, it says a school is used primarily for public or private educational facilities. Forget all the rest. Look, a statute needs to be read in its entirety and its entire context. And so there's more to the story here that we don't have. And I think that it behooves your client for you to go back and in your briefing, I'm going to give you a whole list of stuff I want to hear about. And one is, what is the definition of a school according to the education law and according to the Department of Education?
sir,
No, hold on a minute. I'm not done. And then I want you to tell me, look at school grounds. Does that mean that it's primarily, that the property is primarily used for a preschool, a kindergarten, elementary, or high school? Or is it not? And those things can be found. I am sure these issues have been extensively discussed, especially in the context of schools attached to religious organizations because of tax purposes.
Mr. Hill, I do want to comment. I think what you're hearing from some who have spoken is that regardless of what anybody thinks of cannabis dispensaries or cannabis usage, we're going to have some pretty serious scrutiny around the issue when you're talking about a dispensary in proximity to either a church or a school. It's just a serious issue. We're not talking about a swimming pool near a front yard, which itself is serious to that property owner, but this is at a different level. So you should expect the scrutiny.
But remember, the issue before the board is whether the church is also functioning as a school, not whether the cannabis dispensary is in proximity to it. Because there's different setbacks for it.
And
Certainly,
can we also
certainly.
clarify, I'm sorry, just last point on this. It's, this church grounds constitute a church and other buildings that serve other functions. So we need to be careful about the terminology used with respect to the building inspector's circle and his measurements, which weren't necessarily from the church. That's not the issue. The issue is our buildings that are used for some form of education or instruction, and whether those terms fit into all the things that John just said, right? So it's not about where the church is, and it's not about where the dumpster is. It's about where the portions of the property used for educational purposes, whether pre-K or nursery schools, fit into that definition. I don't know, but we need to know, and that's germane to the question you're asking us to rule on. Did the building inspector get it right or wrong?
And I just wanted to add one thing, and then I promise you're going to be able to finish your presentation because I really do want to give you that opportunity. When it comes to property, and you were saying that the church owns this property, if there is a high school that's run by a religious organization, it's not run by it's not owned by the high school, it's owned by a religious organization. So, I mean, I think that,
yes, but not to interrupt you, but St. Anthony's High School, right? That school is a school. I can
but it
promise
doesn't,
you that
what you're saying, you're saying a school is something that goes from 9 to 3 or whatever. It's, schools have different, preschool. They recognize preschool in the statute. I mean, so private and public preschools are recognized. So there's a lot here that we have to digest, and I'm going to let you have an opportunity to finish up. But I'm telling you that we're struggling with some of the interpretations that you're making, and we're going to have to take a look at some of the other aspects of this.
So, almost everybody I haven't heard from.
He's going to come up with the worst question.
Yeah. We're saving him to the end.
Yeah,
questions
he's our
from
secret
everybody. So
weapon.
I promise you, I have an answer for everybody Not that I have an answer for it, but I would like to respond to each of your comments to the extent I haven't forgotten them already because they came one after another. But first to yours, board member, absolutely appreciate the significance or the weightiness of this issue, and not trying to give it short shrift at all. But we are appealing from a building inspector's determination that could also be critiqued for the thinness of its analysis. There is no explanation in that letter as to how any interpretation was made or arrived at. There is just a citation to the statute, which is not even the section of the statute that he was asked to look at. So, yes, this is very important, and we mean to give it the close look that it requires. But in terms of another one of our lawyerly rules about statutory construction, you look at the statute as a whole, as I believe you said. So that means applying the definition of school as it exists. But it also means within that section itself that if there is a more specific provision of a statute that applies to the question at hand, you apply the one that more specifically addresses that issue. So this town board legislated, enacted 330-162.26. Included in that sections A, B, and C. C specifically addresses the distance that a dispensary can be from a house of worship. So that is, and the question is not, like you're saying, I drove a long way to get here, so I'm not pretending to know what happens at when the school buses roll in or anything else, and I'm not trying to deny that what you and your kids or anybody that's gone there have understood to be a school. But that is not the question. There's not a question of whether school activities go on there, or even if there's a building that people treat as a school and which functions as a school. Again, none of that's explained in the building inspector's letter either. There's not even an identification of what building it was talking about for the purposes of making any measurements that he made. But the question is not, is there something, is a school there? It's which of these provisions in an area that, to the extent it's not totally preempted, which it very well may be by state law, but to the extent that the town board took the time to write a very specific statute on this exact type of facility and subdivided it into sections which give different distances for different uses, where there's a more specifically applicable section, that's the one that controls. And there's a specific section addressed to houses of worship, which, again, our position is that we're talking about the parcel, right? That is what defines the predominant use, is what that parcel is for. The CO says church. It's St. Rosalie's Church. There may be other activities that go on there. There could be bingo. There could be a school. There could be other things. But I don't think there's a legitimate question that the primary use is as a house of worship or a school. And that is what controls. And yes, the definition refers to the New York State education law, which I have a copy of, right? So does that editorialize that it's disappointing for our purposes because it's the same language. It is basically word for word 409 subsection 2, which is what it refers to, uses the same terms that are already in the code that say as defined by. So it's just redundant of it. But again, the critical part of both 4092 as well as what's in the town code is that it's talking about its relation to the school, apostrophe S, legally defined property boundaries. And there is no school that we're talking about. There may be places where kids bring their pens and papers and learn things, but there's no school that we're talking about that has any legally defined property boundaries. What has property boundaries is the church.
I'm having a hard time listening to your logic, with all due respect, because most, if the church had if the church was a cathedral and it had its own high school on it, would you call the high school a church?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I don't even know if I can. If on the property there was a cathedral and it also had a high school because it was big enough to be, would you refer to the high school as a church, or would you call the high school a school? I think I know the answer. You would probably call the high school a school and the cathedral a cathedral and a cemetery a cemetery.
No.
It's the use that determines its name.
The question, the term in the code,
We're
right,
getting so far
is
afield.
primarily. So the question for interpretation is not which you would call it subjectively because one's bigger than the other or something, or you could bring up any hypothetical where it's a tough call. The question is, in this case, and you have the local knowledge, is St. Rosalie's Church, is that parcel, that tax lot, which is not subdivided into separate lots, and the CO of which is a church, is that primarily a church or something else?
See, but hold on. You're trying to ask us to, you're supporting your position by asking us to impose our anecdotal experiences on your application. The fact of the matter is this. I'm listening to you, and you have to understand, as a 25-year litigator, I'm horrified by this. You don't just say, oh, look at the town code and look at the education law, and it's exactly the same, so we just throw our hands up and we can't say what it means. We can say what it means because we know what we see when we look outside our window. That's not how you do it. As a litigator, you look at case law that has interpreted these sections of either New York State legislative code or the town code. You also look at agency administrative decisions from the Department of Education, which determines what a school is. Or you look at the legislative intent and the legislative history to determine what the legislature meant when they enacted that law. And many times, case law will have discussions of legislative history and legislative intent. There's a lot more work you need to do. One of your biggest hurdles in this case, and you have to understand, I'm not coming here, and I want to make everybody crystal clear about my position on this case. I ran for town board in this town, and I supported this cannabis dispensary in debates. So the question of whether I think it should be there or shouldn't be there is unquestionable, and it's also irrelevant.
I agree with that.
Thank you. I am sitting here saying to myself, I have an application in front of me, and I want to see you put your best foot forward. And the way you do that is by providing us with briefing, which will show your legal position. Not, oh, you know that's what it is, because that's what you're saying to us right now. You're saying you know it's a school. You're not a school. You know it's a church. That doesn't cut it.
That's really,
That is exactly what you're doing,
That is
please.
a complete.
No, that is exactly what you're doing.
And a totally unfair characterization.
It is not.
And I fully disagree with you.
Okay, fine. You can disagree
that
with me
the-
all you
the-
want,
the-
but
the
I sit
way-
on this side of the table. Hold on a minute. I sit on this side of the table, and I'm going to tell you what you need to do in order to get yourself over the hurdle. You need to tell us what is a school. Not what we see and what we should understand, but what is a school? What does the law say a school is? What does the law say school grounds are? Because, as you've pointed out, all of these definitions find themselves in state law and were enacted many years ago, and I'm sure were litigated to death, especially in the context. And this is the thing. This is where you have to focus yourself, in the context of a school on religious property. that is the gravamen of your whole thing.
We've got to look at that issue, yes.
Yes, but I mean, this is,
No, I
this is
understand.
important
Let's try not to get confrontational on this, because we're really trying to sort this through on our side and on your side. So,
Okay, but
Okay.
let's understand what the boundaries are here, because there is no talking about what the legislature and the legislative intent of a statute. This is an interpretation of the town code. The only legislature is the town board that enacted this town code, which was done very recently.
Which borrowed it from state law.
Which,
Town law and the town code.
all right, so
Look,
you can
state
interrupt me,
law
but I can't
and town
interrupt
law
you.
are inextricably linked.
You keep telling me how insufficient our presentation is, and I can't finish a sentence.
all right, okay. Let's let him finish his sentences, and then we can make a list of everything that we need to have you address for the future. Okay.
I mean, maybe the easier thing to do is submit a brief, but I don't think that there shouldn't be a misunderstanding that this requires, delving into areas of how a school has been defined. In other cases, in other places, this is about what the words mean in the town code. That's the only thing that the building inspector has the authority.
What Mr. Leonard is saying is the town code is based on state, so there is a point to delving into a little bit of the definitional stuff.
So,
And if
None of
we're
which-
not satisfied, then that's going to be a problem for you. So you might want to consider taking a look at that.
I will do that, and I appreciate the feedback. There's certainly zero legal authority of that nature in the building inspector's letter. This is not like a variance application where we have, as the applicant, a certain burden of proof. This is a fresh question to you. Did he get it right, or is our position? And for whatever you think of our presentation, you have an equal question before you as to whether the building inspector correctly interpreted this. And there is no explanation at all in that letter. It's a bizarre letter. It cites to the wrong sections of a code that I assume it's just a typo, but it's referring to section 462, which is not an actual section. There's a whole 2 or 3 paragraphs that repeat themselves, like somebody cut and paste something and then put it in again. There's no case law, there's no statutory law, there's no explanation for the interpretation of the town code.
Is it your position that the lack of reasoning for the determination invalidates the determination?
There's a question before you, which is whether that interpretation is correct or not. And I would welcome the opportunity to further explain our position, but to the extent that you're going to make this decision, the building inspector's letter gives you nothing in terms of how he got to his. You'll need to do that yourselves. Maybe you'll just agree on its face that that's what you agree with, but it wouldn't be because that's been persuasively presented to you that that's the correct interpretation.
Okay,
This
so
is your appeal, so you have the burden to present, your case. So it's basically,
but I just want to clarify. So we're not taking the position that because there is no reasoning in the determination itself as to how the building inspector reached his decision, you're not saying that it's invalid for that reason. You're saying it's invalid because it's wrong, but not because it doesn't leg out its reasoning.
Correct. And but this board's decision would need to do that. I mean, if this board adopted and had a one sentence, decision that as in determining this appeal, we adopt and approve as correct the interpretation of the building inspector in his March 6th letter, we would file an Article 78 from that, and that would get annulled because that decision would not have any support in it. So there's nothing, if you're not agreeing with us, the work will have to happen on your end because the building inspector didn't give you any starting ground to work from.
okay. Okay, so So let me just ask you a technical question, I guess, I don't know. We're talking about 200 versus 500 feet, correct? What was submitted is that there is a circle. And we're talking, assuming that the building inspector was correct and he's looking at the property boundaries, that include the school, that's a church, but whatever, he calls that school grounds. We're talking about 400 and some feet versus 500 feet, is that correct?
Right, the determination of
So,
the
okay, so all right.
unspecified
Yes,
thing that he's
unspecified.
measuring.
So it's
measuring
400
from.
and some feet versus 500, right?
Correct.
I went and looked at the building. It's, empty. It's, we're talking about the entrance to the building. Is that correct? That's where it's measured from, the entrance to the building?
Well,
So I believe that's the case.
yes,
So
but
if that in
again,
fact is the case, is there any way that the building can be accommodated so that it meets a 500-foot, whether it's, is that the easier way to go than going through all this litigation?
That might be,
I'm
but-
raising that as a question for your client.
I appreciate that, and the correct venue for that would have been before the planning board. They're the ones that issue a special exception use, right? That's what it has jurisdiction to do. That's not appellate jurisdiction. You don't go to the planning board for that because you got denied something. You go straight to the planning board for that relief because that's what the town code provides. And whether or not, I don't know. Again, it's a mystery what exactly the question that was posed was. But if it's 400, if there's a different way to measure that it fits within either a 500 or a 200, and that would obviate this whole issue, that could have all been, that
Are you
could
saying
have
then
been.
you wouldn't consider that now at all?
No,
But-
if we get this.
That wouldn't resolve the issue that we have here. We have
I
here a
understand.
determination
But it could
that
withdraw
this
that.
property is school grounds. And so it's subject to a 500-foot distance. And you're saying it's a house of worship. And so it should only be subject to 200 feet.
And
Look,
you also have to remember, this interpretation was not made, the applicant did not make this interpretation, right?
Right.
They took their application, they were before the planning board, they thought everything was going great, and the planning board decided to send this to the chief building inspector, which is not
Correct.
typically the way it happens. Usually the applicant says, I need to go to the chief building inspector for interpretation, and they give them all of their evidence. So this is an unusual interpretation. So.
yes, absolutely. But I
just want to, in the applicant's defense, they didn't ask for this
No,
interpretation.
there's no need to defend the applicant. The applicant is before us as it stands. But I'd like to focus this conversation a little bit more because I think we're kind of going off the rails a little bit. So I think I've made myself very clear in terms of what's needed with regard to definitions of schools and school grounds. I noticed in the documentation, the Heitler-Houston architect memo referencing a February 1, 2023, New York State Office of Cannabis Management additional clarification regarding dispensary proximity to school grounds. And it states that the guidance clarified when the measurement should be taken from a school building's entrance. And in an excerpt from page 18 of this clarification, a dispensary cannot be on the same road and within 500 feet of a building and its grounds occupied exclusively as school grounds. Now, to the extent that you're going to take any position that clarification has some kind of authority with us, I would need to know from you, OCM is an administrative agency. What authority do they have to interpret or alter New York statutory law? And how is that authority granted? I don't know if you're taking that position. I haven't seen anything that says you are. But in the event that you do, I think that you would need to provide us with that documentation, first of all, and second of all, provide us with legal briefing which shows why we should credit any clarification or determination by OCM when OCM is not a legislative body or a judicial body.
And I might say, I did a little investigation on that, and it appears as if the OCM has changed its position on that it doesn't have to be exclusively.
All right,
for
so
the- So, it appears that.
So that would be great to
yeah,
have an
I mean, I
update
think
with regard to that.
yeah.
Because it seems to me that since what we got was a letter saying this is our appeal, and then the building department file, which contained this documentation. I don't know if that's an argument you're going to be making. Like, I would expect, and I think the board is going to expect you to do briefing.
Like I said, we're
So-
happy to do that. But I would say that this section of the discussion is wandering into an area that takes us somewhere else that I think is outside the bounds of.
No, it takes us exactly where we need to be. It takes us, no.
Can I finish
it
the
takes us.
sentence, please?
I'm going to tell you what this board needs in order for us to determine your application. And this is what we need from you. So you can say it goes far afield all you want. This is what we need. And you then, as the applicant, have the opportunity to either go, sure, I'll comply and I'll give them what they need, or I won't and I'll stand on it and I'll stand or fall with the application.
But you
So-
don't need things that have anything to do with 500, 200, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter what OCM is saying about setbacks. It doesn't matter what the town code is saying about setbacks. It matters whether St. Rosalie's is operating as a school or has any kind of school definition in the town code.
Yes,
I
but to
understand
the
that things
extent
have
that
changed.
OCM is taking the position, if it is now or not, that the grounds are defined as school grounds when they're occupied exclusively as school grounds, that is relevant to this
Totally.
discussion. Absolutely relevant.
So, as I was attempting to say, yes, I would say that is highly relevant and highly persuasive for an interpretation that you might make and which we would encourage you to make. However, if we're citing to OCM and the state cannabis law, there's no way to address that issue without accompanying it by the argument and the law that this is entirely preempted by state law. So the question is not, can we glean something from OCM regulations or state law to help us interpret this? If we're looking at state law, we have to look at the fact that under preemption policy, if there's a field that the state has fully occupied, then these regulations don't apply at all, period. But that question is not before you. That would be something that might make the application to the planning board irrelevant and remove their power to impose either the 200 or the 500-foot restriction. But if we're talking about, borrowing from and looking at the state law, we are happy to do that because I think it's fully supportive of our position. But it would be impossible to do what I attempted not to do, which was to overcomplicate the narrow question before you with these preemption issues. But you have counsel, you can get a,
Look, if you want to make a preemption issue, you can, a preemption argument, you certainly can in a briefing. That would be fine.
But a preemption argument, your jurisdiction under Town Law 267A is to review an interpretation of the town code by the building inspector.
See, we're going back to this.
Building inspector.
You're going circular. Why can't we just get beyond this point? The statutes themselves, the
Which
code
statute?
itself,
The town code.
refers to the Department of Education, uses language directly out of the education law. And that would help you. I'm actually trying to help you. You think I'm adversarial to you. I'm trying to help you make your argument that would be a cogent argument. If you could show us that under state law, school and school grounds are defined in a way that's beneficial to you, that would help you. I don't understand why you're being so resistant.
Okay.
I-
All right.
So
Okay.
let's just move on. But I want to move on from
All
that
right.
because we keep going back.
Okay.
Um,
So wait, John. Mr. Hill, how much more do you want to do? You understand now that we're going to need a fairly
Yes.
extensive briefing. I think John's been very clear in terms of, the definitional stuff that he is seeking.
I have other issues that I need to
Okay.
address
but-
with
but-
regard to this application as
Okay,
well.
so, but at this point, it almost sounds like, let's get the questions out that we have and issues that we have, and then you can address them in a written submission, because I think that we're just gonna be arguing back and forth at this point, and we need to actually look at something in writing, so we can have a chance to mull it over and take a look and do our own little research on it. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. This is
Because all we're
purely,
doing is arguing back and forth, and we're talking circular, like John says, but you understand what we need,
I do.
and
Well, there's
John,
more
if
that
you've
we
got, if you've got a couple more, let's list
Yeah.
them out. But I think at this point, don't engage in terms of what, because don't respond, because we have to look at it in a written form. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's just the way we're gonna have to do that. Okay, John, go ahead.
Okay, so the next thing, when you're looking at the definition of house of worship under 331.62.26C and C4, a question for me becomes, does St. Rosalie's cease to be exclusively occupied as a house of worship, notwithstanding its incidental uses? Is Our Lady of the Hamptons use of the parish house an incidental use such that it doesn't deprive St. Rosalie's of its designation or characterization as a house of worship? I think you need to address that for us.
May I do that right now, please? Because I can do
No.
it very quickly.
No, we're
Okay.
not,
No.
we're gonna.
So
No.
we're gonna
We're not going to,
take the rocks.
no. Right, take notes, not rocks. Take notes.
Everything
Okay.
that you're asking
Does-
me, I have yet to get to because I haven't been able to.
Well, but the thing is this, you are not prepared tonight with an actual brief with any of the legal precedents that we are going to need to see. If you had a brief, we would actually say, well, we're going to need to read it, and we would hold this open anyway. This is being held open, and we're going to give you a briefing schedule. But here's something else that we need. Let's see. Does St. Rosalie's religious instruction deprive it of its house of worship status? The fact that it is engaged in some educational activity, I don't know. What is the interplay between a school and a house of worship? Does one trump the other? I mean, that's, I think, is something that you need to be looking at. In order for St. Rosalie's to be a school, does education have to be its sole enterprise? That's going to be in the definition of a school through either Department of Education or the education law. What is it? There's got to be a hurdle you have to reach. And are there certification requirements, regulation requirements? Those are things that you should be looking at in terms of the definition to determine whether St. Rosalie's can be credibly categorized as a school. Then I think you should also look at community facility. I noticed that Anthony's letter to the chief building inspector specifically asked him whether this was school grounds or a community facility. And those are the three categories under 331.26.62. It's school grounds, community facility, or a house of worship. And so I don't feel that the building inspector's letter adequately addressed both of those issues. And I don't think it would hurt for you to address all of those issues as well. So what is the definition of a community facility? Does it have a municipal element to it? Why doesn't St. Rosalie's qualify as a community facility? And specifically with the fact that the definition of community facility in the town code deals with a facility for the purpose of public or private recreation. And so my question is basically, how does that apply to St. Rosalie's, and does it?
I'm not sure I agree that you had to address that.
I think it would be helpful.
Well, it might be helpful, but I don't think you necessarily have to address that, since that's not the appeal that we're taking at this
So
point.
Susan, may I just ask one question?
Yes.
Katie, at the beginning, you made reference to change in the zoning. And I
Yeah.
would like to understand
Well, I
at some point, whether that moots the entire
I
conversation.
don't know whether it does, and that's kind of what I wanted to ask you, only because I know that this is an interpretation and it's sort of attached to your property and it's important. But I also had a little bit of a concern, because there has been a change of zone, and I know that's in dispute, but there has been a change of zone that no longer says that the proposed use is permitted on this property. And so I just was wondering, does that
I'm sorry,
take away?
Katie, a change in our zone, we changed.
The town board changed the zone,
Changed the zone.
the
so
zone
that-
of several properties
Okay.
whereby the cannabis use dispensary is no longer permitted, right? I mean, that's what the change of zone says.
Yes.
That's what the change of zone says, again.
Okay.
And so I was trying to think about standing, right? Because typically, we don't just, typically the building department doesn't give you an interpretation based on someone else's property. Typically, it's on your own property. Or if your neighbor gets a CO and you're challenging that CO, there's sort of some standing. And so I just was trying to figure out, I wanted you to maybe just put something together, because I haven't had a chance to research it either. But I just wanted to make sure that they still sort of had standing to address this issue, because regardless, whether this board finds, let's say we proceed anyways, and we say you do have standing, no matter what this board would say, it really wouldn't affect your property until there's a determination as to whether or not the change of zone is upheld, right? Because
Is it retroactive? I mean, what's the timing on it?
Well,
I mean,
that's, if I can
Yeah.
address that.
yeah, I'd like you to.
So it's not moot, because even if the new zoning applies, our relief would be to seek a use variance from this board rather than a special exception from the planning board. And in that use variance application, the same question would come up. So the decision whether the church is a church or a school remains material to whatever path forward there is here under the old zoning or the new. And so that's one answer for why it's not moot. But in the bigger picture, the reality is that with respect to this applicant and the history here, and we're not addressing this in this forum, but the goalposts have moved many times. And the last instance of that was the change of zone, which took this away. But in terms of the temporal sequence, at the time that this was before the planning board and this issue of interpretation was up in the beginning of this year, that was, the zoning then was what it was. But for the erroneous, where our position in this appeal is, decision on that interpretation issue, we would have been before the planning board measuring whether or not, as you were talking about before, the distance is in comports with the 200-foot restriction to a house of worship. And so getting this issue right is important both for going forward even under the change of zone, or which we would argue is going to have to be the case, that you'd have to look back and put us in the position we would have been if this decision was made correctly at the time that it was asked.
So if
I
could-
actually would agree with that.
Yeah, I think
As you
that
said,
that's.
that, y- 'cause
yeah.
if they applied for the use variance, then it would be, do they need the 500-foot setback or do they need the 200-foot setback?
Okay, I think if you could also make a recommendation to, include that discussion in any of your written submissions.
Sure. So I'll wrap up particularly with the opportunity to follow up with a written brief. Just very quickly, I appreciate your points on the issues with subsection C on house of worship. Just noting that there's, in subsection 4 of that section, there's an enumerated list of things that don't make something, remove that. And some of those are quite broad, including use of building by other religious organizations or groups for religious services or other purposes. So this school is not run by St. Rosalie's. This is, I'm forgetting the name, but the school has its primary school elsewhere, and the preschool function operates out of this location, but it's not a St. Rosary school. So this would be right within that subsection 4C category of the enumerated uses that do not deprive it of being exclusively a house of worship. And I think the purpose of that definition, that if something is or is not exclusively used, is meant to determine whether the 200-foot provision applies at all, not whether you revert back to the 500. But if it's not exclusively a church, then you don't have the 200-foot restriction at all. But I would submit that we're likely in one of those categories anyway. So just very briefly, the second piece of this, what we would say this appeal to this board is from the building inspector's letter, is that under Town Law 2 Section 70A, as I started in the beginning, this is an appeal from that interpretation, house, school versus church, but it's also an appeal from, to the extent that March 6th letter is a actual determination, which, because there is nothing before the building inspector for him to determine. There was no building permit application, and the request for a special exception, that the planning board has the exclusive jurisdiction over that issue. So there was nothing for the building inspector to decide. If they asked him, as often happens, for an advisory opinion about something, then it would have still been up to the planning board to either adopt that or take it into consideration or reject it. The fact that it's been treated as a actual determination that ended for that portion of the proceedings, the request for a special exception before the planning board is wrong as a matter of law. There's, that's outside the building inspector's authority to decide the special exception, and there was no other question posed to the building inspector. There was, as I said, it's not as if this was a building permit application and you got a denial and now your relief is to come here for a variance. So I appreciate the time. Sorry if I got a little animated. Like you said, it's an important issue. I do think that there is, nuance and lawyers' work to be done from both sides, or however many sides there may be, in coming to an interpretation, and we may disagree with what the proper sources of that are. I would just come back to one of the original points, was that that's all well and good if you need to, but it's highly, I would submit that the definition of a school in the town code is so clear and unambiguous in terms of what it has to be, because of that emphasis on privacy.
We look forward to your briefing.
That would control
Okay.
the outcome.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hill. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this matter?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, so what kind of time are we looking at here? For you to get back and,
When is your next meeting?
it's August 21st.
Yeah, you're going to need to get us something by next week. That I don't think that's
Yeah,
reasonable.
I think,
I think you're looking at the October 2nd meeting.
There's nothing in September?
probably, no, not, there's one, absolutely no September meeting, and the September 4th meeting is not a good meeting for that.
Overwhelming.
October 2nd is probably the,
So let me just be foolishly ambitious and give myself an out. If there were a date by which I got you a brief, what would be the
to make
latest
the
date you
next
would need it
meeting, to make August
yes.
21st. Candace? We need at least a week ahead.
We can set it for try to set it for the 21st, and if they need more time, they can request.
I think the 21st is way ambitious,
Oh, that's a different issue.
extremely ambitious.
Well, only because even if you got, Candace is probably gonna tell you, you have a week, but the board is
The
gonna
board
want
has to
read it.
digest it.
Yes,
So
I'd
I'd
that's
say-
why I'm asking how much time you'd need.
Are we going to say October 2nd? No.
Yeah, no.
And it's summer, it's, you know, I would say that,
Well, I mean, you could put it on and we could adjourn it, as I think.
yeah, but it's
Well, I
our-
think we
it's our
also have
responsibility
to take into consideration that we need time to digest it.
Yes,
and we need to
absolutely.
be able to read it. So why don't you provide us,
You can give it to me on Tuesday, by the time they get it.
I'm not gonna be able to-
They're only gonna have a couple of days to.
No, it's, you know, it's the timing in terms of the summer and everything else is really, really a problem.
why don't you
October
provide it to us
2nd.
sometime in September? And we'll have it for the October 2nd
Yeah.
meeting.
Let's do that. But give us enough time to this isn't like looking at a new survey.
I agree.
This
Yeah.
is going to require some effort on our part. So I would say that we're going to need at least 3 weeks in advance of the October 2nd meeting. What do you say, Candace? We need to get it.
Actually, if you give it to us the beginning of September, the first week of September.
September 5th?
Okay.
Oh, that's after Labor. How about September 12th?
For submission.
For submission,
Okay.
for a October 2nd continued hearing.
I would
Sure.
try Friday before that, actually.
What,
Usually if I get it on the 12th, you'll get it.
we'll get it on the,
16 or 17, and that's still, I mean, unless you feel like the week is.
Well,
good enough,
if
can
you were
do it.
trying to be ambitious and have it
No,
next
we're not
week,
putting it
let's-
on until
Let's do it
October
the
2.
Friday before that then.
September 12th.
Well, what's the Friday
I
before?
will-
It's
I will wait
September
till the 17th, and then you have a week before
9th.
October 2nd.
one,
How
two,
about
we'll have 2
September
weeks
9th?
if we
Is
get
that
it
a
on September.
Friday?
That's enough time, that's fine.
I don't know if it is or
Is
isn't. but
Friday,
that's-
September 9th?
Do you think 2 weeks is enough for you to review it? I mean, you
That's
can,
plenty,
personally?
that's
Friday,
plenty.
you can tell that we're expecting it to be somewhat extensive, in-depth. That's what I'd like to see.
Okay, so I would say Friday the 9th, right?
We don't have a Friday.
No.
It's the
September.
12th.
The
September
5th
12th is
Is the
Friday.
9th,
September
is the
12th.
Friday.
It's a Friday. Okay.
Second,
So, all right, so
Hold
we're
on,
going to have
hold on.
written
I'll make the
submissions.
motion.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Okay.
make the motion.
So we're going to have a brief due from the applicant by September 12th and hold the hearing on this application open to October 2nd.
Second,
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Kane. Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just get my stuff.
Is the written submission period open to,
Everyone.
everybody.
so if there were something submitted, could we just request to be notified of that so we
If-
could,
Opposing your, yes, absolutely.
opposing or maybe agreeing?
Supporting, yeah.
No, they would have to just contact me, find out. I'm not gonna remember who sent this.
All right, so check with the Candace if there's other submissions.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay,
Number 8 on the agenda, application of Marianne E. Flanagan, 60 Summit Boulevard, West Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-354-4-7. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for proposed addition to an existing dwelling on a non-conforming lot. 1, Section 330-6, General Regulations that references 330-11, Residence District's Table of Dimensional Regulations for principal total side yard setback from 45 feet to 26.9 feet, and a principal minimum side yard setback from 20 feet to 8.7 feet. And 2, Section 330-84D Pyramid Law for a sky plane encroachment to the north in the amount of 478.8 cubic feet and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction.
okay.
I can't imagine how you guys
Welcome
feel.
to us, yes. All right, so I know you're an attorney,
Yes.
attorneys,
Architect,
architect. Okay, let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name and addresses separately.
I'm Mary Ann Flanagan, 60 Summit Boulevard, West Hampton.
Thank you.
Peter Baldwin,
And your
Park
address?
Circle, Quad, New York.
Okay. And
For the
do you
applicant,
wanna-
James N. Hume, 323 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach. Good evening, and you may hear me refer to my client to my right as Beth, which the name which is not commonly known as, but,
Oh, all right.
so just don't be confused if I
Thanks for
do.
clarifying that.
Because it was a long time after I knew you that I found out. But in any event, we're here looking for some relief to basically expand a very small existing garage on a modest home located on Summit Boulevard in West Hampton. If you can see from the survey, you can also see from the plans, which I've spread out in front of you, the existing home has a garage which is only about 11 or 12 feet in width. In this modern era of vehicles and people needing to store things and bicycles, so a garage is out there. It's not really helpful. In addition, there's an existing office behind the garage, and again, in this world where people are working remotely, office space is a much more important thing than it ever was before. So that's what's driving the train here. The existing lot is about 17,000 square feet. It's a little over 95 feet in width. As I said, there's a one-story home. It was built in 1973 with an attached garage. There's also a pool, hot tub, and patio, all of which is shown on the survey and all of which is covered by the COs that were submitted as part of this. The lot, where the lot is located in the R20, as you can see, it's a little substandard from the area requirement for the R20. However, the property benefited from a 1973 zoning board, which created this lot and the lot to the north with the dimensions and sizes as indicated. So what we're looking to do, as I indicated, is to expand the garage to the north, which necessitates the three separate variances that are that recently discussed. So we're looking for a garage that's sorry to the guy in the back end, which is now 20 feet instead of 10 feet, which creates the need for the side yard setback, both the single and the total, as we're not making any changes to the south side of the house. I would point out that the driveway of the house to the north is just the other side of our property line, so it would be driveway, garage, driveway to driveway. So I think that the impact would be minimal, if at all. The pyramid relief that we're seeking is driven by the fact that we would like to have a continuous roof from one end of the house to the other. And so the roof peak does in fact pierce the pyramid, pierce the sky plane in the amount of 478 square feet. But I think to cut the roof off architecturally or slope the roof on that end would make for an odd-looking house, especially a house that's been there since 1973 with a peak roof that runs north to south. So that's, in a nutshell, what we're looking to do. Great benefit to the applicant in the expanded garage and a little bit more office space and a new laundry room. But I think little impact to the neighborhood as a whole. I think in a year or so, everybody will think that this is the house that was always there. So.
John, this is yours.
Yes, so I've been, I'm over there, so I've been to the property. At first, I felt maybe a little too close to the house next door. Have you spoke to your neighbor at all? Anybody?
She has not. We have not heard from her. I don't know if she's on or not, but
Same concern.
yeah.
Because we're only, less than 9 feet at that house. That house is also pretty close.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we did not reach out, but we did not hear anything either from that particular neighbor.
To be
I
honest,
also appear to have a garage right next to the right on the property line.
it's so close.
Back, yeah.
I would say my initial was, I wasn't liking it. Then I came back and forth. I think it's okay, except for that it's so close to your neighbor.
Right.
What
What
are
are
you
you gonna-
thinking in terms of vegetation?
I was just.
Well, that was in my notes. I mean, we would we could put a hedge, a privet.
Is there a hedge there now? Is there something there right now?
There's a tree or something.
Yeah, what's gonna happen to that big tree? It can stay? Bye.
There's a, may I?
Yes, please.
There's a really big maple tree towards the back, but I have two giant pine trees that hang over her driveway that she's asked me to trim. And pine trees are overgrown. They do need to go.
Trim on her side? Or okay.
Yeah, and to have half a
I get it.
It's gonna look ridiculous, yeah.
Well,
something very narrow in terms of vegetation.
Are you gonna keep that existing hedge, or that's gonna go along the driveway?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think, because it's so close, that you would have to do something to mitigate. I mean, are there windows on that side? There are,
Peter, you want to take
In the garage.
yeah, the garage.
There are 2 windows planned for the garage just to get some natural north light, and a window planned for the laundry room as well to get natural light into the laundry room.
I wouldn't be so concerned about that though, because you're not
It's-
living in the
nobody's
garage
gonna
in the
see
laundry
anything.
room.
Right.
It's not like it's a living space.
Yeah.
That much
The
I
office
understand, it's not
is,
going from living to living.
It's the office that I
Yeah,
was
the
thinking
office
about.
has a window, but it's facing towards the backyard.
Okay, it's not
It's not
facing.
overlooking the neighborhood.
Okay, well, that makes more sense. Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't have any problem with this. And the reason I don't is because it's on a driveway. Doesn't make
Well,
any sense.
we always are concerned
Yeah.
about narrowing, the side yards. So in this case, it's probably not as detrimental as it would be in other circumstances. But I really do feel that you've got to come up with some kind of suggestion in terms of buffer zone.
We could propose a.
As part of a written submission.
If I could also make the suggestion, I know, so the question is, is the garage for cars or is the garage for storage? That gives you some flexibility. And then with respect to the question on the office, this aerial picture shows this very strange trapezoidal-like property line on it,
Yes.
and the survey looks
Couldn't
a little
figure-
different. So I'm trying to reconcile whether you have
It's
more
there.
room on the back.
The survey shows the exact property. When I printed the aerial photograph, I had only identified the front part of the lot.
No,
Okay.
but the survey identifies 2 different tax map numbers.
Yes,
Have they
that's
been
correct.
merged?
Effectively, yes, but there's still 2 tax maps. So if that's a requirement of the decision, we would certainly do that.
Well, where I'm going with the question is, is there room to put the office on the back of the house?
The
and-
office is going on the back of that.
Right, and then the garage being less imposing and less.
At that point, I don't think it would matter, it makes sense for them to do.
My idea is just to throw out ideas.
See what sticks.
To the extent that we have an office at all right now, it's in that location. So we're really just expanding.
So you just want to expand on that office? Okay, thank you for
Right,
that.
but going back, so this is another lot here.
Yes, but that's owned by her.
Okay, so I.
Common owner, right?
Yes.
Right,
Right,
okay.
so it has to be a condition that they be merged, otherwise
Yes.
I need a separate
Yes,
survey. with-
Absolutely,
Right.
yeah.
Should have thought of that beforehand, but we
Okay, so
will
that will be a
accomplish that.
condition of the approval. Because I was really, couldn't believe the difference. Yeah, it was very
Me
strange.
too, I was flipping it around, I was.
Okay, so what I'm looking at is some sort of a written submission that will deal with the hedging or the landscaping. And that, as a condition of any approval, would be the merger of the 2 properties.
Susan, what's the first thing you asked for?
That, some sort of a hedging along the driveway, separating the
Are
2
you asking for,
properties.
like, a planting plan or-
Yes, he's
Okay.
gonna provide some sort of a plan, landscape plan. Is there anything else that anybody on the board wants to suggest? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 60 Summit Boulevard? Anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 60 Summit Boulevard?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, John, this is yours.
All right, so we're gonna close the hearing with written submissions for 822. And a decision for 9-4.
Second,
Thank you very much.
Mr. Redman?
Aye.
Let's vote first before you
Sorry.
say thank you. Make sure we got this. Mr. Redman?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you.
Good to see you all. Have a good evening.
Okay, number 10 on the agenda, the application of Joseph Taylor, 103 West Tiana Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-257-2-5. Applicant requests relief from the Town Code Section 330-6, General Regulations that references Section 330-11, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for a principal front yard setback from 40 feet to 34.9 feet to legalize a covered porch constructed without the benefit of a building permit on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction.
Okay, are you an attorney? Okay, let me swear you in. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name and address.
Joseph Taylor and 2252 Roy Street, Brooklyn, New York.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Taylor, do you want to tell us about the application?
Well, I just I'm looking to get a variance for the porch there in front of the house that we erected without permit and less than 11. I'm just hoping to have it get a variance for that, and the reason being is we can put it up just to enhance the beauty of the home. So we can just relax and sit in front, have some coffee, and you know, my neighbors love it. Keeps the house cool in the summer. It's a really nice addition to our home.
So in other words, you built it without a permit?
I did, yes.
Okay, and it requires a variance
Yes.
in order to be approved?
Had there been a porch there before? And so the porch was fully added on, okay.
Okay. Helen is lead on this. I don't know if she wants to say anything. Helen?
Of course, you know, I'm never in favor of any construction that was done without a permit. You know, that was very, very bad. Very, very bad.
Lesson learned, yes.
But I did see the property, and all in all, I other than the prior construction, I don't have any problem with the porch. So just don't do anything like that again.
Aw.
Helen, thank you, Helen.
I concur with Helen.
Thank you, John. Thank you so
It
much.
sounds like a lovely enhancement for your property. Is there anybody else on the board who wishes to be heard? Is there anybody in the
Just-
audience?
One other thing,
Oh, sorry, Helen.
Mr. Taylor, you know, you have to put some railings on. You know that, right?
Oh, I didn't know.
You have railing on one side, you need a railing on the other side, because
High enough, or it wasn't high.
It's too high off the ground. You
Wasn't high-
may
that
need
high
a
off the
railing.
ground.
You
Yes,
should get that
exactly.
checked.
You should talk to the building department about that as to what's required in terms of railings.
yes, it's unsafe right now.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on 103 West Tiana Road? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard?
No one on Zoom.
Okay, Mr. Taylor.
My neighbor was,
So I'm going to give
probably
you,
fell asleep.
okay, well, that's, so he didn't want to comment? No, maybe he wanted to be positive. Okay, I'm going to take this for Helen. So we're going to close the public hearing. We're going
Then
to
I can
hold
do
it.
that, I can do that, Susan. And thank you for offering, but I can do it. I'm gonna close the public hearing,
Okay, go ahead, Helen. Yeah, okay.
written submissions for August 22nd, with a decision on September 4th.
Second.
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Leonard,
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Redhand.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
All right.
Chair votes aye. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Taylor.
sir.
So what does this mean?
So this means that you're going to get your approval. Yes, that's what it means.
Yes. You just gotta wait a little bit.
You got to wait. The final decision
September
will
4th.
be on September 4th. You don't need to come. But if there's any written submissions that people who object or whatever, they have until the 22nd of August to submit them.
So then you'll decide,
We'll vote on it on September 4th.
then I'll get, have something in the mail?
Yes.
Candace.
Okay, moving on to the holdover application
Thank you.
agenda. Number 15 on the agenda, the application of Lynn Leahy, 15 Tarpon Road, East Quogue, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-362-4-8.
Okay, where are we? This is- Okay. You've been before us before, did I swear? I did swear you in, right? Yes, okay. Yeah, right, I just,
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
all right, state your names then, and state your names and addresses for the record. That's all.
Michael Leahy, 15 Tarpon Road, East Quogue, New York.
Thank you, Mr. Leahy.
Daphne Vaughn, Surfside Environmental, 4 Happy Acres Drive, Shirley.
Okay, so where are we on this, Daphne?
So we went back to the drawing board and try to maintain square footage yet reduce pyramid. So we submitted updated plans, which you should have. The best pages to look at, I'm gonna say, are pages A5, 5, 6, 6A, 6B, and 7. Those are, well, and then the pyramid ones after that, but those
All
are
right,
the ones
sorry.
that show.
So
the
this
house.
was stuff that we got tonight. Okay. So what pages were they?
Well, the first couple of pages are floor plans, which are not that exciting.
Okay.
It's A5, which
Okay.
is the elevation, so you see the differences that we did. So we had it as 2 full stories, box on top of a box, so it was completely squared off. So to try to further reduce the pyramid, they took the second floor and they moved it in a foot on each side, and then did these shed dormers on either side, and the peaks. So it has a little more character than it did originally.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
And as we originally started with this, the house was higher. We were seeking a full garage underneath. That has been eliminated. It's more of a crawl at this stage. One of the good pages to look at is actually A6B, because it shows the elevations in relation to the existing house. So you see in number 4, in the upper corner here, essentially the existing house is in pink. So on the, I don't know what side that is, the north side is the one that's closer to the property line.
That's on the south
So
side.
I'm saying this is the,
South side.
this is the south side,
That's the back of the house. That's the south side. That's
the one that's closer to the property right now is the south.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the south side, essentially, it's just the dormers and the second floor that, not even the whole second floor. It's also a good illustration here because you can see the existing first floor versus the proposed first floor, which will be FEMA compliant. We're not FEMA compliant right now.
I see.
We're trying to maintain the square footage to the best of our ability without doing something that's going to drastically change the house, in that it will send us back to the Conservation Board for a modification of the permit. So this preserves the integrity of the square footage that they're looking for that's usable to them. It reduces the pyramid by 441 square feet from our last iteration.
What is it now?
It's 2,550.8 cubic feet, which equates to 1275.4 on either side. The head height of those dormers is at the minimum that it can possibly be at 6 foot 8 inches. There's cathedral ceilings in parts of the bedrooms in order to accommodate, to make it feel more spacious. So I told you we already reduced the second floor by 2 feet, a foot on each side. And so it's a 10% decrease from our last iteration, which is an overall just under 50% reduction from our initial, the first plan. The other thing that we're showing in here on that page A7 that I mentioned is we're showing proposed screening vegetation on both sides of the house and what that would look like.
because of the window issue that was brought up.
Yeah.
Oh, right. The
neighbors had
privacy, yeah.
brought up, about windows. We did a little reconnaissance mission around the neighborhood, and I should pass these out. I'll give one to Candace. These are very not professionally done photos, but I'll give them to you.
They're yours. They're your
Actually,
photos.
Mike took them.
Oh, really? Well, I'm sure they're fine. He's an architect. So. Why am I getting this?
She slammed you there. That wasn't nice.
Okay, here you go.
Oh, they're,
Not very professionally done.
well, you know,
All
they
I can say
had
is a
like
good phone, that's all.
mirrors in them.
Exactly.
I think they're fine.
Oh, they're
So it
fine.
basically shows you windows on sides of houses and the proximity of how, all of the houses there are close to one another. Many of them have 2 stories.
Mhm.
I'm not really sure how there's not a lot of pyramid variances here, because when you look at some of these homes, you just say, how? It just doesn't
Okay.
make sense.
Okay.
So, so we just wanted to give you this representation. And this is just a small sampling. There are certainly more.
The dormers affect which areas? I'm like confused. It's, they're add-on, the second floor, the north and the,
The north and the south side.
Yeah,
so there'd be dormers in these bedrooms and then the laundry, or is it?
No, that's the first floor. This is
Yeah, the
bedroom.
second
This is the
floor
second
is
floor plan.
basically,
The bedrooms and bathrooms
yeah,
Okay,
the beds and
on each
baths.
north and south side.
okay.
All right.
So can I just clarify one more time? You've gone from the original request of 5122 cubic feet of pyramid relief to 2550.8.
Yes.
Cut it more than half.
Yeah.
So I went through the neighborhood again in advance of today's meeting, and there are some tall structures. None of them have pyramid relief as is requested, like this still. And the overwhelming presentation of the community is modest size, single-family dwellings, not dominant roofs. There are some exceptions closer to the water down by the Shinnecock Bay than for most of the street. And I still think, if you lose the sheds on the second floor, I think you're closer. Well, I didn't tell you to buy the house. You're here asking for relief, and I'm giving you feedback because I still think out of character with the neighborhood, and that the relief request being made is excessive. And let me make the last point on this, because I'm remembering the hearings that we had. The houses are very close, which means when you put second stories with windows facing other neighbors, you're living in a fishbowl after a while, right? So at least the neighbors are, and that came up in prior meetings. I'm surfacing it because I can identify with that concern. So my job is to give you the feedback. I gave it to you.
Can I respond to that? The houses that were brought up saying that they didn't have any windows in that, which is the second house down from my neighbor who brought that up. They have 6 windows on that side that they said they didn't have any windows.
They didn't come to us and ask for it.
Oh, I understand that, but her point was to say that she doesn't have any privacy. And there is no screening on that side between that house and the newer
Yeah,
house.
that's the.
On my house side, not only would I be putting up screening, in her yard is gigantic trees that you cannot even see their house from my yard. And there's a lot of houses now that are going up that have nice roof lines and pitches, and I changed it from a box and created peaks and everything to try and make it more characterized, to be nicer, which I think we accomplished.
I
Yeah, it's
think
a nice plan.
I think you did, and I also like your screening plan, which is very helpful, and that would be a condition, obviously, of a variance that we would grant. I personally think that you've done a good effort. I mean, I think, you've got some reasons not to change it dramatically. You'd have to go back to the Conservation Board again. That's my reaction. John, this is yours, so do you
I
want to
think
say
you did
something?
good. I mean, I think the house looks nice. I think you did a job cutting down on the pyramid. For me, I happen to have no problem with it. I like it.
All right,
But it's
anybody
an
else on
asset
the
to the
board
neighborhood.
wishes to comment?
I agree with John.
Yeah,
I think you've done a good job. I think you've really, I like that you reduced it by half, and you took our comments seriously, and I think you're making something that does look like it would be part of the character of the community. You really, the style itself fits right in.
Yeah, I think it's a
Different from the original.
Could have started there.
positive, really a positive. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to be heard on 15 Tarpon Road? And you've been before us before. Do you just want to
Yes.
state your name again?
Brian Butler, I'm an attorney for both neighbors to the left and right, Ms. Hedberg and Gina, last name? While I heard the notes from each and every one of you, I believe Mr. McDonald has made the most pertinent points, still not in compliance. I don't have the plans because they only got submitted on the 1st and it takes 30 days to get a foil. So I haven't been able to see what is the first and second floor heights.
Okay, we just got the plans tonight also. You're going to have an opportunity to review them, for sure.
Okay.
And, you can submit
How
written
am I gonna have
comments. Well, they'll supply them to you, I assume, correct? Daphne? You're going to supply him with a set of the plans?
Please supply him with a
I
set of
can
plans.
email him a set of
Right.
plans.
Okay.
You just handed us that. There you go.
Okay. And, you will obviously have a chance to review and submit any written comments you may have.
And as such, I will review them, but the main questions asked last time were the heights of both ceilings, first and second floor. They didn't want to change them. I don't know if those were changed, Are they 9 feet now? Are they 8 feet? What are they?
They were changed at the last iteration. I believe that they're 9 feet on the first floor and it's 8 feet on the second floor.
Okay.
And that we're at a 5.5 foot crawl underneath for storage.
Okay, and I believe the woman who was with us on telecom in the last meeting had stated she would like to see those heights reduced in order to decrease the pyramid. And the person applying, I believe your wife was with you, saying, how am I going to live in this house?
That was at the first meeting.
Yeah.
Once again, as McDonald stated, he didn't tell you to buy the house. We understand that you want square footage, but we still have to stay within the pyramid laws. When you start opening these excessive, asks, such as 25% on such small lots, where's the rest of the town going to go? We're going to start making this more the precedent now, where you're going to allow 25%? Because whatever you decide here, I as an attorney will bring up at the next meeting if my client fits into that. So while it's a nice house, I can appreciate it. I can appreciate you want more square footage. We still have to go by the laws. It's still too big for the neighborhood. It's still looking down on both of my clients. It's a pretty house. They're simple fixes. You may not want to do them, and I'm sorry. But the dormers can go. You can lower the floor, both heights down to 8 feet. Lowering the second floor down to 8 feet, you get another 15% relief.
The second floor is actually, as I stated, the shed dormers are at 6'8", and I just looked at my notes. The ceiling height is at 7'10", I believe, is where I just saw that. 7'1.5", and then it's cathedraled. So it's actually not even 7'1.5". We went down to the 6'8" from the 7'1.5", and it's cathedraled in the bedrooms to give it the full height feel.
But the first floor is 9 feet?
Yes.
What
Which
is it currently in the current
customary
house?
In many new homes these days.
And I can appreciate that in many new homes. But I'm also a builder. Anytime I make my plans, I can adjust them. You're building basically a new house. You can adjust this down to 8 feet. I know you don't want to, and I
You can direct
understand
your
that.
comments to the board, though. I mean, it's getting a little too personal.
Well, I just feel the board has made personal comments towards him about how pretty it is and all that. So I want to say that I am understanding where he's coming from. And like I said, it could be a nice house. We still have to take into account the neighborhood and the neighbors. All right. And once again, we feel that the 25% still is excessive, especially for such a close-knit area.
Okay, Mr. Butler.
Well,
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
also the pictures, did they include addresses of those houses?
Yes.
Some of them do.
Some of them, yes.
What is the approximity to this house?
It's the neighborhood.
It's a big
10
neighborhood.
miles square. 19 is the one with the circles around it. That's the new house right next door to Gina. The 17 apartment.
Okay. But once again, these people, their new house, is that a new house? Okay.
But
They
that's
didn't
but sir, that's the neighborhood.
I understand, but
It
I'm
doesn't matter
asking-
if it's new or it's not. It's
no,
what's
I'm asking
existing in the
if
neighborhood.
it's a new
so I don't-
house.
Hold on. Please, would you let me speak?
No, because I have a question. I'm sorry. 1 second, okay? My question is, you just stated they did not have to go for the pyramid law. So whether it's a new house, if it were an old house, then they would have had to apply. Is it a new house or an old house? So I'm sorry for interrupting you, but that's my point.
Right, and we were actually just saying it's kind of amazing that they didn't need pyramid relief. It may be that those properties are larger, and that's why they didn't need the relief.
I don't know that they are. There's very few that are bigger than 75 feet
Okay.
wide, and a lot of those are corner lots that are on Shinnecock
Mhm.
Road as you come into the subdivision. Those are longer lots that kind of wrap around the canal.
Is it your position, sir, that this house is much bigger than the other houses in the neighborhood? He's not
Brand new
listening.
house within the pyramid law.
Okay.
Both of, my neighbor, I'm Gina.
Hi, Jean.
I just wanted to say I live next to Mike, and I do have a neighbor on the south side, and that's number 19. It's a brand new house. It looks great. I love it. They built within the pyramid law. They also spoke with me about it, and I was able to agree with them staying inside the pyramid law. I would have to look at some of these houses.
Okay, but
Other than the house next to me, none of these are on Torpin. They are on Shinnecock Road.
okay, but that is
There-
the neighborhood. It's part of the neighborhood.
Right, yeah.
Some of
there's
those are on
five.
Bonita or Marlin.
Right.
I have been doing work in this town for 24 years, and I have done a ton of work in Shinnecock Shores. Many of those homes in the past 24 years have become two-story residences. I don't understand how they don't have pyramid variances.
So my comment is, you've got a copy of the plans now, and you can submit your written comments to us, and we will consider that in making our determination. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is John. You want to take the lead on this, John?
Okay, we're gonna close with written submissions for 822 and a decision on 9-4.
Second.
Sorry, when written comments?
822.
22?
Yes.
With a decision on 9-4. Mr. McDonald? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Redmond?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Okay, number 17 on the agenda, application of Brandon Josephson and Sarah Church, 22 Bay Avenue, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-5-3-39.
Is this yours?
I don't think so. Mine are all here.
Carl Benincasa for the applicant.
Okay, can you just wait 1
Sure.
second while I get organized?
Maybe.
Sorry about that.
It's actually dark out.
I know.
Is it? Oh,
First
that's
time
so
it's been dark out in a
depressing.
while.
It's happening.
Every year.
4 months away.
Okay, so, Mr. Benacasa, would you please reintroduce yourself and the architect?
Carl Benincasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York.
David Sherwood, 23 Cove Drive, Sag Harbor, New York. I'm the architect.
So if you recall, the last time we were here, John and Julie were not here the last time, but I submitted an overview of relief granted in the immediate proximity of this neighborhood. We discussed that at length. I highlighted 4 grants of relief, one in 2015 for 4,267 cubic feet, one in 2016 for 8,532 cubic feet, one in 2023 for 5,373 cubic feet, and one just last year for 3,871 cubic feet, all within a tight radius of this in Pine Neck, of this home. When we were last here, we had reduced from the original request of 5,687 cubic feet. We reduced that to 4,837 cubic feet. Based on the record we made with the other variances granted in the very recent past, I believe Rob and John were comfortable with that 4,837 cubic feet. But Kevin had a suggestion to bring it down even more. We took Kevin's suggestion, and I hate to say it, that Kevin was right. So David will go through what we did.
Is that in your July 24th letter? Or is there a subsequent?
No, it's the July 24th letter.
Okay.
So the plans that you have, or the elevations that you have in the packet show the new roof pitch. And we had a 12-12 pitch with a 45-degree angle. I brought it down to a 10-12 pitch, and in doing so, I was able to shave off 943 additional cubic feet. And in doing that,
And so what's the bottom line now?
3894, which is almost exactly what that relief granted last year was,
and we're down 1793 from the original request.
or about 30%.
And in addition to having, shaved off that additional cubic footage, we also were able to lower the ridge height twice. The first time we lowered it a little bit, and then the second time it came down more. We're 27 inches lower than we were from the original application, and we're 18 inches lower than we were last month. So,
What is it now?
25?
25.2? Is that what it is? Or
25?
no, 30?
yeah, whatever.
No, it's 32.
No, it's not 30. It's 32 above.
Yeah.
It's 25'2" above average natural grade. It's 32.5 above mean sea level.
Okay, sorry.
So
I
25 feet too.
Okay.
So just in light of that, I would just go over again, 21 Dog Street is the variance that was decided last year by a unanimous board that granted relief of 3,871 cubic feet. That's in the immediate proximity of this house. I would note that that lot is 25 feet, or our lot is 25 feet more narrow, and therefore 25 feet more burdened than 21 Dog Street is. And we're now asking for the same, essentially the same relief. I would also note that our lot has an existing pyramid encroachment of just over 1,000 cubic feet. It's just over 1,000 cubic feet, making the impact or the change in the pyramid encroachment from the neighbor's perspective really a difference of 2,800. Now, as Katie pointed out, we don't have grandfathered rights to that, but I think it's relevant in considering the impact. So in light of that, I think we've made a very thorough record as to why we would be entitled to this relief based on the burdens on the neighborhood, on the neighborhood, and specifically the burdens on this lot. The relief granted in the immediate proximity to the neighborhood. We've worked with the board on multiple occasions to reduce it a total of 30, roughly a third of what we had been, or 2/3 of what we had been asking, reduced to a third. I've presented a variety of examples of relief granted in the very recent past by this board. And we would note that Pine Neck is replete with these sort of relief because it was zoned so, it was built out prior to zoning in such a way that the lots are incredibly burdened. And the board has recognized this over the years. So based on that, based on the fact that in light of the neighborhood conditions, this is not substantial, this is not self-created hardship. Again, this is zoned R40. This lot is 7,500 square feet. It's reasonable in light of the conditions, and the nature of the relief has been reduced to such an extent in collaboration with this board. I submit that this is a reasonable request for relief.
So this is me. I do appreciate all the adjustments you've made and the work over time. I appreciate that you've acknowledged Kevin was right.
It's hard to do sometimes.
I still think it's too much.
I'm I'm not surprised to hear you say that, but I do appreciate it. And I think, this is an area that it's burdened because of lot sizes. I'm more comfortable. I don't love it. I do want to say, Carl, you said you're entitled. You're definitely not entitled to the relief, but you've made good arguments for it.
Thank you for that clarification.
I didn't say modest.
Okay, talking about the pyramid is, Kevin, did you want to say anything about it? Because I have another comment.
Well, I mean, my principal concern is, I know you provided us with a lot of data about a lot of different things that are happening, and I get it. The principal impact that I took from some of your data, which I appreciated, was a house on either side has an average pyramid relief of 1,000, and the nearest next house that was granted pyramid relief from this location had roughly 2,000 cubic feet of pyramid relief. You add that all up and divide it by 3, the 3 nearest houses have about 1,500 cubic feet of pyramid relief, and this request is, I think, considerably larger than that. And the principal concern that I have is if you keep adding more and more to the averages of existing pyramid relief, it's an arms race to the biggest house in the world. And I guess, if we live here long enough, that'll happen. But in the meantime, this concerns me. It was supposed to be granting the minimum relief necessary to alleviate a perceived right to the relief, and I'm troubled by our capacity to continue being comfortable with too much, in my view, and with full respect to the applicant, their agents, and the rest of the board.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead, Helen. Go ahead.
I agree totally with Kevin. I know that Carl comes in with large numbers, which I've seen over and over and over again. And it's to impress us by the fact that he moved that number down. That does not work with me, Carl, because I know what you're doing. And I think to say because it's a small lot, therefore he should get so and so and so. Maybe if it's a small lot, we can have a small house. When you buy that lot, that doesn't mean you can have any size house that you want on that lot. So I am not in favor of this application.
Okay, I think you've made yourself clear. I just want to say that the neighborhood itself has really transitioned. And I think what Julie was talking about is that maybe the 2 houses, the 3 houses within the area. But, you make a good argument about the fact that there's a lot of pyramid relief in this area. And they're, beautiful homes, and they're going up, and they're, and we're going to try to keep some control over that. I mean, somebody comes in with 5,000, forget it. Don't even bother coming through the door. I do appreciate very much that you've made these accommodations, and so I am not opposed to the accommodations that you're making. However, I do want to ask a couple of things. One is, we're talking about the setback for the generator. What are we going to do about abating some of the noise of that generator? I mean, those generators make an enormous amount of noise. You're talking about 4 feet, a setback variance of 4.3 feet, so it's going to be at 5.7 feet. So what's the suggestion on that? What
Would you like some noise abatement?
I would like some
screening?
noise abatement screening that doesn't catch fire when the generator turns on.
The neighbors they've already been just.
Okay. All right, so Carl can repeat for you.
They have been in discussions with the neighbors about doing that. They're happy to do that. You can condition the variance on noise abatement.
Okay, well, we're going to do that. And what was the other thing? Oh, we still waiting for wetlands permit?
That's been approved.
That's been approved, okay. That's my comments on the,
We can have that submitted for the record.
yeah, absolutely. We've got to have that for the record.
There's a different professional working on that. I'll have them submit to the record.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter of 22 Bay Avenue? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on 22 Bay Avenue?
No one.
Okay, so is this mine?
No, it's me.
Oh, it's you, Julie. Go
Yes, okay, so it sounds like we are ready to close the public hearing. We're going to keep it open until August 22 for written submissions with a decision on September 4th.
Second.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Revin?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Modification request, number 18. 40 Ocean View Drive LLC, 40 Ocean View Drive, Shinnecock Hills, Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-271-1-44. And I wrote this in the wrong place.
Carl Casa?
I think you gotta re-advertise, right, Ken? Posted and mailed?
We did.
Yeah, so you gotta read it, John, please.
Oh, I have to read it? Oh, I'm sorry.
Please.
On June 20, 2024, by decision number D024064, this board granted a variance for a proposed air condenser unit. This decision also clarified and modified ZBA decision number D022087, dated August 18, 2022, with respect to the details and pyramid encroachment of any architectural feature constructed on top of the proposed dwelling. By letter dated June 16, 2025, Carl Benincasa, attorney for the owner, seeks a modification of the pyramid encroachment calculation stated in ZBA decision number D024064 to include the following: relief from Town Code Section 330-84D pyramid law for a sky plane encroachment of 18 cubic feet to legalize a rooftop railing.
Board has jurisdiction.
All right, we're waiting for Mr. Benincasa to come and tell us about this.
Thank you.
So this is a minor modification of relief previously granted. When this board last reviewed this, through the process, there was a roof deck that was permitted and constructed with a safety railing as required by law. In reviewing it final for approval, they realized that that safety railing created additional pyramid encroachment of about 1% of the relief that was previously requested. So we are here today after review by the building department to ask for 19 cubic feet of relief for that glass railing you can see at the top of the structure.
And how was that missed by the?
It wasn't on the last plans that this board saw. It wasn't, but it was submitted to submitted for approval to the building department, who required it for safety reasons. And then it was built through the process, and then as they're COing it, they realized you need relief for that.
Why wasn't it on the plans that we approved?
I was not part of the application at that point.
You weren't?
No.
Do we know who submitted those plans?
The architect would have submitted.
Okay, what was the architect's name?
It's Brian Glazer's office, Glass's office.
I'm kind of irritated.
I mean, you know, we already made one modification, and now we're coming back. Granted, it's what, 18 or 19 feet, but it's aggravating. You know, it's like, you know, bites at the apple. And this is one that should have easily been picked up by the architects and, you know, dealt with originally. I mean, obviously, it's a safety issue. You know, I don't think we're going to have much.
Exactly, what are we going to do?
Yeah, we don't have much options, but I just have to express, you know, concerns about, you know, coming back to us on a number of occasions. And this was a controversial application in the beginning.
Yeah, I was not part of it.
I know, Carl, I'm not trying to yell at you, you know, but I'm just trying to make a statement. Numbers. But I, you know, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I was very, you know, a little bit aggravated by this, to say the least.
I definitely appreciate that.
Is this the only variance issue? There's no lights up there. There's no you know, beam lights to the moon or anything like that.
This was reviewed by the building department. They reviewed our application, confirmed that it was this. That's it, the 19.
And it was part of the it was part of the plan, it was on the plans that were approved by the variance?
By the building department. not by
But,
the
but
variance.
they weren't submitted to us with those plans, or else somebody had calculated it when they
Wasn't on
submitted it.
What was submitted to this board for approval, but the building department required it as part of the building set.
So in other words, was
But that's what
when,
we're gonna hear. We're gonna hear that what was built was not what was approved by this board.
so when we approved this, did we approve it with the fact that people were gonna go up there and actually be on the roof, or
I
did we
understand that
just?
there was a roof deck on the approved plan, yes.
Can we get that checked? Just-
So, yeah, I think we need to check that, because, you know, obviously, we don't have our files from that. You know.
Sure.
So if
But
you,
yes, that was, the roof deck was always part of it.
That would be good to confirm, I agree.
yeah, we need to confirm that, Carl,
Sure.
in a written submission or whatever. Because if it was just a roof and it didn't need a railing, then, you know, maybe that's why it was never included. But if in fact it's now gonna be a roof that's used,
There was a point, a point, if you look, I know there was a modification to the, I guess it's the north side of the home up here. This junction here, there was an attempt or a thought to make that accessible. It is not. But this portion was always meant.
You understand the concern we have, right? It's
it's like, you know, is this being used in a way that we weren't aware of when we?
or wasn't represented to us initially. We approved it with one understanding, and now it's coming back
It's
with.
different,
If you want clarification on that, we can
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that agreed by the board?
Yes.
Any clarification on that?
So do we want to get the clarification and then deal with this?
Well,
so I-
we have people here.
Oh, okay.
Pardon me?
We have people here. who
No,
can-
I
yeah.
understand, but so I think we need clarification that what we originally approved included the idea that it was going to be used as a roof deck. Is that that's the clarification that we want?
I mean, I don't remember it, right? But it could have just been, you know, access to some utilities for an air conditioning or something, and now it's livable space in effect.
Usable
And
space.
I think that's the issue. And then with livable space comes other activities that may encroach in the neighborhood in a way differently than we understood it.
Yeah, and as I said too, that, you know, it's a pretty egregious failing on the part of the architect. Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this application? Okay, please. Have I sworn you in before on this?
Not on this, no.
Okay, then let me swear you in. Are you an attorney? You're not an attorney.
No, I'm an architect.
Okay. Okay, so
One first.
you can tell you're an
this is
architect,
the
came
most
with an
important
easel.
one. Yeah, this is the most important thing.
Okay.
Okay.
I am not gonna be able to see
No,
that.
it's in your handout too. It's the
We got a
same.
hand, I think we got a handout
got a
today.
Yeah, to less, I think it's the less.
It's this one, it's got like some
Oh,
pink highlighted on
got
it.
Yes. Well, they don't, it's okay.
All right, before
That's
we get
exa-
into it, let me swear you in.
Okay, please.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address.
William Leeds, 114 Edgemere Drive, North Sea.
Okay, okay. William, you want to tell us about this?
Okay, well, when you said egregious, that's just what you see as it's 18, it's actually 18 cubic feet, I think.
19.
It's not 19. It's actually closer to 1,800 cubic feet when you actually do the calculation. Because the way the building department determines pyramid encroachment, which is in the memo on your third handout that we gave you, which is highlighted, that we got from the building department. It's not just, the way this architect calculated it, he calculated the cubic footage of the glass, 1/2 inch thick by approximately 120-something feet long. So when you calculate the glass at 36 inches high by 1/2 inch thick by 120 feet, you come up with 18 cubic feet. And that's what he did actually back in 2022. My clients hired me to check on the cubic footage, and this architectural feature on the front, which, may I hand you something? I have a little.
Candace.
This is 7 copies. The architectural feature that he did, he also calculated as just the cubic volume of the columns and the beam across the columns. It's very unusual. And so what happened was the client, Chris and Lillian, went to the building department and met with the building department several times, and they asked the builder to provide a pyramid encroachment survey, which we have here. And if you go back and look at what was approved by the ZBA in 2022, it amounts to about 2,000 square feet. When this surveyor did it.
2,000 square feet or cubic feet?
I'm sorry, 2,000 cubic feet. When the surveyor did it, he came up with, and it's on your handout there, 11,448 cubic feet. And this structure is not built in any way conforming with the height that was taken originally on the architect's drawing. So one must really agree this was the correct word.
Well, if in fact, what are you saying, that the house was built not in compliance with what we approved as variances?
Correct.
That is not our determination here. That is
I
our
know,
code
okay,
enforcement
that's just background to show that it's been done repeatedly. This isn't the first defense was here, and I actually provided a revision when Chris asked me to do that, and submitted to the board back in, what date? It was submitted June 2025. I'm not exactly sure when we submitted that, but the 18 cubic feet is what we're here about, cubic feet
You know,
railing is what
Actually,
we're here
18 was striking me as a bit odd. So what you're saying is it was based on the thickness of the glass? How does
I'm
that,
not sure what he's saying, that your staff in the building department don't know what they're doing, is essentially what he's saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That is what he's saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
That's what
is
he's saying.
the architect calculated the pyramid encroachment on the thickness of the glass.
He's saying that the building department, when they reviewed this, missed that it's 11,000 cubic feet of relief. You approved it twice incorrectly, based on inappropriate review or inadequate review by staff and the building department.
In his defense, that did happen with this application.
But ultimately, the approval was the approval.
Correct, but there
Correct.
was a problem calculating the pyramid in the building department, and that's why
it was
this
very
memo was
controversial,
issued.
yes.
Remember, it was from that open.
the open area,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was corrected.
It was corrected,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think what he's saying is we didn't.
It was.
Correct.
It's 11,000 cubic feet of
He's
relief.
saying-
I'm not saying, this is a survey that the builder provided to us. Your client's builder gave this to us. He had this done for the building department. This is probably
Putting it up
correct.
there. If
This
you
is
wanna
correct.
Stand behind it, you gotta stand behind it.
I believe it's correct.
Okay, this back and forth, this back and forth came.
So, you know what, I want to take the conversation in a little bit of a different direction. It is extremely frustrating that we were not given the right information. And this glass thing now that we're being asked to approve, which I feel like I really want to approve because it seems like it's a safety feature. What I really want to ask is, what would happen if we didn't? Would it have to come down and this roof could not be used in that way?
Well, no, I think the glass would have to be probably relocated. Or yes, I
Relocated
get
to where?
Well,
Pulling
maybe
it
pushed it
closer
in,
in.
right?
Brought
Make
in.
the,
Might
make
be
the
brought
areas.
back in
So
to
the usable space is much smaller.
so that it doesn't breach the pyramid line.
And they're overlooking my clients right now. So that's part of the problem, is that railing being right at the edge brings the activities up there, which have increased from what I've seen. There's a kitchen up there now. I wasn't aware of that earlier. So there's quite a bit of activity up there. And it's
And
a
if it
spec
were to
house.
get crunched in, would the use of it be different?
It would
Well,
be smaller.
Lesser use?
Be a smaller footprint up there.
I think the question is, was you aware of this roof deck when you approved it? If you were, and that livable space, this is a accommodation that's required by the building department.
Well, unless we were given the wrong information.
And unless
And
there
that's
was a
something we're gonna-
failure of calculation of pyramid relief
Correct.
required at that time, which apparently, even if we had approved it as a walkout, roof deck, it wasn't included in the calculation. And there's
Right,
some
but-
question as to how you actually do that calculation with glass. I don't know. That I don't understand,
But if it was approved as a roof deck, and yet the calculation was wrong,
Right.
does it matter?
It matters to me, because when people come before us and make a representation about dimensions, I need to be able to rely on it.
I'm sorry. I've sworn you in, I know. You're very familiar. Just state your name again for the record.
I'm Chris Severnick, the owner, co-owner Lillian, of the house.
Of this house.
So I would like to
Your
make
Are you the neighbor or the co-owner?
I'm the neighbor.
Yeah, okay, not this
I'm the
house.
neighbor, yeah. We sitting on the west side of this house. Now, two issues led to this event here. The first issue is that the builder, owner, whoever, architect, submitted two different sets of plans. One plan came to the ZBA, and a different set of plans at about the same time was delivered to the building department. Now, this is my 10th time here in front of you. The original plan had nothing, it just was a roof deck. There was nothing there was nothing planned, there was no railing. The second time around, all of a sudden, there was a railing. And when I questioned this railing here in one of these meetings, I was told, well, it's just a roof and it's just for safety reasons. Now, it has turned into a big party space. There is like a 8-person jacuzzi on top of this roof. There's huge big furniture assemblies. There's a kitchen, a built-in kitchen. There's a gigantic grill. And about 40 feet of this glass railing sits right next, 10, 20 feet away from our bedrooms. So the windows on that side of our house cannot be used at all. We have to close them all the time because they're looking from the windows in the hallway in the first floor, as well as from this party deck up there.
But you just said that the plans always contemplated the roof deck. I mean, you guys heard
Yes,
that,
it
right?
contemplated a roof deck.
That's what I
And-
thought, yeah.
Yeah, and to me, I don't know what is happening, but on September 11th, the building department gave a building permit to build out this roof deck, to build out the roof deck with the kitchen and with the jacuzzi and with all the equipment up there and the couches and lounge chairs, etc. So
It's 10 feet to the property line.
No, I know, but what we were trying to figure out was when this came to the ZBA, where we had
it
all
was
this.
never there.
No, but I thought you just said it was always, the roof deck was always on the plans.
A roof deck, there was.
A roof, there was a roof,
There was a roof, that's it.
but no railing.
Nothing.
Well, so to distinguish the point, I'm embarrassed to say this because I just don't have instantaneous recall for applications we might have seen a while ago. But if there was a deck that was just there versus a deck that is now livable space
Yeah.
and being occupied by humans, right, in the manner that somebody's yard or patio might be utilized, and we didn't know that, that's an issue.
Yeah.
That
Well,
somehow we should have known about.
the deck was there as a space to be used as a deck.
It was not.
Not just a roof.
It was not. You weren't there. It was not. I
we
was
just
there.
said it was.
I was in every meeting. It was
No,
not.
what he was saying
we-
was.
we don't
there
know
was no
that.
railing. There was, in other words, it was just a flat roof. It
Carl,
was a flat roof.
none of us have that recall, and that's the original question I think that Julie said. We needed to know what was the nature of what was approved. And if it's true that one set of plans went to the building inspector's office and it didn't look like the thing that we approved, I'm really annoyed. Not at you personally,
No, that was
but
not, that's
but
not my
about what
understanding,
happened.
but I can absolutely see why you'd want to get to the
Yes,
bottom
no,
of
we
it.
need to get some clarification on this. It's really a major issue.
I would like to add another point. Number one is the two different set of plans.
and I went to the archives and I checked the building plans. They were dated March 8th, 2022. And about the same time, the building plans were submitted here to the board. Now, the second issue while we have this meetings here again and again is that early in the presentation, the architect floated the concept that an architectural feature does not need to be counted for pyramid encroachment. So
That photo shows how it encroaches.
so the plans supplied to the ZBA had only one reason to negotiate the encroachment, the maximum pyramid encroachment they could get from the ZBA. The plans in the building department were full-out plans with the enclosed front, with the enclosed architectural feature, and I don't understand it either, why the building department continued to let these guys build this building this way with
Over 11,000 cubic feet, according to their surveyor, the builder surveyor. This isn't mine.
Right, but that's not in our purview right now. It's
Accurate, and it's not what the building department felt.
this was given to us by the building department. Okay? The building department
Reviews the request for relief and determines the necessary relief required.
Are you talking about
we should confirm that the pyramid encroachment for this railing did not need to be calculated like this.
Yeah.
Because this was news to everybody, right? Like, it didn't matter if it was open or if it was closed, they were calculating it all the same way.
The calculations are on there.
No, I remember this, but I thought your point was that they didn't use this for the railing. They didn't use this method of calculation.
They did not.
Right, okay.
There's a lot of different things going on, and I, for one, would feel more comfortable if you could go back, reconstruct for us what was put in front of us for approval. And I would frankly request that the architect show up and explain how he got to these calculations and how we ended up with different things being submitted and whether, because 18 is a lot different from 11,000 or whatever the number is.
1,800
Okay.
cubic feet.
Okay.
Well,
You're saying
I'll confirm that
1,800
part with the
cubic feet
building
for the
department.
rail.
The architect won't be able to
He's
explain
saying
that one.
18.
Katie, I appreciate that, but I'd like to talk to the architect.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying he won't be able to explain that part. He might be
That's
able to
fine.
explain how this roof deck got on there if it
Architect
wasn't.
will be at the next meeting.
That would be good.
Oh, wait. All right, are you done with your comments?
Yes, I just wanted to point out the two main reasons why you're here. It's a different set of plans.
Second thing is,
So the ZBA had to make decisions based on incorrect calculations of the cubic feet encroachment.
okay,
And the ZBA had to make the wrong decision two times, not the wrong decision, based on the wrong calculation that the architect provided.
okay. All
Those
right.
are reviewed by the building department. The relief is the relief. If they're incorrect, that's a question for the building department, and then we'd have to come back for you for more relief. So if we are asking for 18 cubic feet of relief, and the building department agrees with them that it's 1,800, we'd have to come back for you for another 1,782 feet of relief.
I think either way you're coming back for whatever relief you're requesting, because I don't get it. I don't know what I'm being
Of course,
asked to
we're coming
approve.
back. I'm saying for a different application.
He said that, he was gonna come
Yeah,
back.
whether 18
We
or
need a
1800.
clarification of what happened when, and unfortunately, because we decided this, I didn't keep my records on this, so a lot of that stuff is gonna have to be recreated.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes, I'm gonna time
I
you.
learned home worse than you because tomorrow I'm gonna be 59.
You know what?
And I should-
Congratulations. Wait a second, you get no sympathy from me at 59.
Good for you.
I should be pre-gaming this.
All
But
right,
instead I'm here with you
state
fine
your
people.
name.
Robert Merrihew, 250 North Sea Road, Southampton. I'm an attorney. I represent the Steveniches. I have said this before. My mother went to school in this very building, okay? So I care deeply about the town of Southampton. And if any of you are familiar, and this is how old I am because this gets delivered to me every week or whatever to my mailbox. I still get magazines delivered. This is from February, and its main story is about how you have to deal with what happens in the Hamptons with the billionaires. And your job's only going to get worse because it's not just the billionaires anymore, it's the millionaires. When we
Millionaires.
when we go through the record of what has taken place in the past here, there is direct reference to having space on the roof so that they could store in the winter their outdoor furniture under a tarp because they didn't want to use it in the garage. Okay, that's what that was for, and it'll come out. The second thing that concerns me is, as an attorney, and Carl knows this. Carl's a very good friend of mine, but maybe not anymore.
No, we are.
So the problem is
Here we
that
go. That's
he
the
says we have to go back
prelude
to
to
the
a kiss.
building department and leave. How did this happen? How did this happen from their own surveyor? And Bill Leeds, who's an accomplished architect, his figures come out at a little over 5,000, which is twice as much relief as this board eventually granted these people. And this is another end run about let's take the smallest piece of land and let's build as much as we can on there. This is they're selling the house for $9.4 million. This is all over town. I picked one up the other day. This is the house. And there was no outdoor kitchen. This of course says it has a stainless steel outdoor kitchen on the deck, along with a sauna. That's what it looks like. Just an incident. That's my client's house.
Can I see that?
Excuse me.
That's my client's house.
Bill, you have to
come up.
You can't speak to me.
Because my calculations were based on that architect's drawings, just so you know. And I came up with 5,000. But when they went out and surveyed, the house is taller than what it's shown on his drawings. So I used his drawings to calculate, but the surveyor went out there and actually did field measurements. So I trust the surveyor.
Again, we're asking for the relief we're asking for.
I thank the board for their time.
If the building department.
You can have
Happy
your,
birthday, Bob.
you can have your,
No, I wanted to see it.
oh, sorry.
To the record now.
Yeah. It does have to go into the record, Candace.
You looked at it with your eyes, it has to go to the record.
Okay.
So just in case, I'm gonna ask Bob to maybe pull a photograph of that. 'Cause,
And I'll submit them to you
please do.
early next week.
We have some for you.
Yeah. Okay, it's not my recollection of what we had agreed
Sure,
to.
I will help
But let's,
refresh your recollection.
you're gonna have to do a lot of refreshing on that, but, okay. All right, is there anybody else in the audience? Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to be heard on this application?
No one on Zoom.
Make one last comment.
Up at the podium, please.
Sorry, just one last comment. I have over the last 3 years documented every single step of this adventure because it was an adventure and it was unusual for me. And I'm really surprised at what we had to go through in terms of hiring an architect, hiring an attorney to defend a law that is on the books of this town, which is called the Pyramid Law. And so I can be very helpful. I will assemble all the information that I have from the very beginning, from the very first meeting, 10 meetings until now, and 8 or 9 meetings with the building department, and what happened, and what advice we got, and how come these builders got away with it, what they
Okay.
got away with.
So that will be part of written submissions.
Okay,
So,
But we're holding the hearing.
yes,
Yes.
or you can, if he wants to write something up for us, he can do that. All right, so what are we talking about?
Happy birthday.
What are we talking about in terms of timing here? Carl?
To gather all this, I mean, you're going into September?
We're going into October.
Probably October 6th.
10-2.
All right, so we're going to adjourn.
And two, Bob. Yep.
All right, so Robert is not here, so I am going to, wait, we have to vote. I'm going to make the motion that we hold this
kidding.
hearing open until October 2nd.
Second.
Kane.
Hi.
Mr. Leonard, sorry. Mr. Rabat.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, thank you, Carl. So next on the agenda is the secret resolution, and let me read that.
Good night.
No, go. I'm gonna call you. You're gonna come see me. I'll buy you lunch.
Oh, number 20 on the agenda, secret resolution in the application of Watermill Building Supply Realty LLC, 1110 Montauk Highway, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-102-1-17.1.
Okay, I have the resolution. It's a secret resolution in connection with the application of Watermill Building Supply Realty LLC. Whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals has received a request and submittals for variances in connection with the application of Watermill Building Supply Realty LLC for property located at 1110 Montauk Highway, Watermill, Suffolk County, Tax Map 900-102-1-17.1. And whereas after a review of the documents submitted, the Zoning Board of Appeals found that this project is a Type 1 action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and coordinated review with the following agencies: Southampton Town Planning Board, Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and New York State Department of Transportation. And whereas Southampton Town Planning Board by resolution adopted June 26, 2025, and updated on June 2nd, 2025, indicated that they would like to assume lead agency in status in connection with the secret review of this project. Now therefore be it resolved, Southampton Town ZBA hereby agrees that the Southampton Town Planning Board should assume lead agency status with regards to the application of the Watermill Building Supply Realty LLC pursuant to 6 New York State CRR Section 617.6B, and further be it resolved that this board directs that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Southampton Town Planning Board, Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and the New York State Department of Transportation. So I'm moving that. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Ms. Redpath.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay. Now we have two decisions, right? We're up to decisions, right?
Decisions.
Okay. Helen has a decision. Who would like? Julie, why don't you read Helen's decision?
Stephen and Mary Jane Sedor, Suffolk County Town Map 900-228-3-31. This application is for property located at 81 Fanning Avenue, Hampton Bays. Applicants seek variances in connection with a one-story addition and front covered porch on a non-conforming lot. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code. 1, for a proposed front covered porch, Town Code 330-6, general regulations that references Section 330-11, Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations for a principal front yard setback of 39.5 feet, where 40 feet is required. And 2, for a proposed one-story addition, Town Code Section 330-115C, continuance for a principal rear yard setback of 20.4 feet, where 34.5 feet is permitted. And 3, relief from Town Code Section 330-11 for a total lot coverage of 22%, where a maximum of 20% is permitted, as shown on the survey prepared by Jason Leadingham, LS, last revised May 15, 2025, and the floor plans and elevations prepared by Philip E. Kemp, RA, dated August 4, 2023. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Ms. Kane.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard.
Aye.
Mr. Redpath.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Kevin, you have.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to approve the following resolution regarding Robert W. and Eric S. Flagg, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-144-1-97. This application is for property located at 38 Brookhaven Avenue, Flanders. Applicant requested determination for variances for a proposed two-car garage with accessory apartment above. After testimony and evidence was presented that the existing dwelling was built in 1969 and is smaller than that which is permitted today, this board finds that the applicant passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and Town Code. Therefore, this board finds that the proposed detached garage with accessory apartment above is a subordinate or incidental building pursuant to Town Code Section 330-5 definitions because of its size in proportion to the main dwelling, and grants relief from the following provisions of Town Code for an accessory apartment above a detached garage. 1, Town Code Section 330-11.2G, special standards to allow the total floor area of the accessory apartment to be 96% of the total floor area of the principal building where a maximum of 35% is permitted. 2, Town Code Section 330-11.2 for principal front yard setback of 25.5 feet where 28 feet is required, 70% of the required 40 feet. And 3, Town Code Section 330-11.2J to allow 2 driveways where only 1 access driveway is permitted. These variances are granted as shown on the survey prepared by John F. Barilski, licensed surveyor, last revised April 22nd, 2024. Floor plans and elevations prepared by David J. Rose, registered architect, last dated March 13th, 2024. Grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Ms. Kane?
Aye.
Mr. Bevan?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess?
Oh,
No, okay. Chair votes aye.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
What? Really pissed.
The railing case?
The 3rd floor.